Good evening, everybody. Welcome to tonight's meeting of the Escondido City Council. Please rise for a moment of reflection and remain standing for the flag salute.
Thank you. Yes, please join me in a moment of reflection. We come together tonight to say thank you. Thank you for the privilege, the blessing, the honor it is to serve here in the city of Escondido. We come together tonight as a diverse community, a community of backgrounds, different beliefs, different presence, and different futures, yet one common goal, and that is the betterment of this city. We come together tonight to seek guidance, wisdom, and discernment during deliberations that transpire this evening, and in doing so, we lift up Councilmember Fitzgerald, Councilmember Martinez, Councilmember Christian Garcia, Deputy Mayor Joe Garcia, and Mayor White. May they be granted peace and wisdom as they lead our city into a bright and prosperous future. Amen.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
All right, this meeting is now called to order. Councilmember Fitzgerald.
Present.
Councilman Christian Garcia. Here. Councilwoman Martinez.
Present.
Deputy Mayor Garcia.
Here.
And I, Mayor White, am here. We'll move on to the proclamations, and today's proclamation is for the Lao Thai Cambodian New Year.
Represent for each organization up here so they could join me. All right. Again, thank you all for coming. To my Lao brothers and sisters, Sabaidi, to my Thai, Sawadi, and to my Khmer, Susadai. And a few words I just want to say to my Cambodian brothers and sisters and Cambodian speaking. Kiyumchumua Christian Garcia, Kiyumuchia Councilman Samrap, Tigrong Escondido. Nang Tanaini, Chet Sabai na. Bibrua Knyombanyi Susadai Chanamtamai. And to my Lao, Sabai Di Bimai, and to the Thai, Sawadi Bimai. Thank you again. Thank you. Happy New Year to everybody. Thank you for being here. It's a special day to people in Southeast Asia and our Southeast Asian community. It is a day to reflect and celebrate culture and heritage. And it's a time to recognize the past and acknowledge the history of the people of Southeast Asia and their presence here. Especially the history of Southeast Asia and the community from the late 1960s to early 80s and the refugees who came here to America to find better opportunities and to make the community better as you have and as what we see today. Unfortunately, you know, the Southeast Asian community is often forgotten, but we want to let you know, I think I speak for the council and for the mayor to say that you are not forgotten here in Escondido. You have a home here, and you are always welcome here. So thank you so much again. Thank you, Mayor, for letting me speak for just a moment. I appreciate it.
All right. Whereas the city of Escondido is honored to recognize and celebrate the Lao, Thai, and Cambodian New Year with a joyful and culturally rich observance traditionally held in mid-April, marking a time of renewal, reflection, and hope. And whereas these New Year celebrations are deeply rooted in centuries of cultural heritage and spiritual tradition, emphasizing gratitude, family unit, respect for elders, and the welcoming of a new year with compassion and goodwill. And whereas these celebrations are often expressed through meaningful customs such as temple visits, ceremonial blessings, gentle water offerings symbolizing cleansing and renewal, traditional music and dance, and the sharing of food and fellowship within families and communities. And whereas the Lao, Thai, and Cambodian communities have made significant contributions to the cultural, economic, and civic life in Escondido, enriching the city through their traditions, values, entrepreneurship, and commitment to the community. And whereas the observance of this new year provides an opportunity for all residents to learn from and appreciate the beauty of Southeast Asian cultures and to reflect on the shared values of unity, respect, and hope that strengthen our diverse community. Now, therefore, I, Dane White, Mayor of the City of Escondido, and on behalf of the City Council, do hereby proclaim April 2026 as Lao, Thai, and Cambodian New Year in the City of Escondido and encourage all residents to join in recognizing and celebrating the rich traditions and enduring contributions of our Lao, Thai, and Cambodian communities. Thank you.
Good evening, everyone. I am Nikki from Thai American Association, the leader of the Thai community in Escondido. Thank you so much. I just would like to very happy to be here and also to get recognized to be the new year. And then we are called the Escondido to be our home right now because our temple is just right here. And thank you for all the Southeast Asia leadership with the Lao and Cambodian to join us today and all of everybody to be here with us today. Thank you so much. I appreciate that.
Thank you so much, the City of Escondido, the Mayor, Kristen, and all the councilmen and women today. We are so proud and so much honor being here to receive this proclamation. And yes, April is our new year, and thank you for declaring that 26 is the day of celebration. And I'd like to thank my board of directors and my vice president for being here. We are so much so in San Diego, but we are honored to being here, a little reaching out and networking. And thank you, Christian, for speaking Cambodian so fluently. Thank you so much. And last thing I want to say is I wish for peace worldwide. Thank you so much.
Sabari Bimai, Happy New Year. My name is Peter Kongbuton, the chair for Lao SD. I'm one of the Lao American community leaders. Just want to say thank you to Mayor Dane White, Councilmember Garcia, and the City Council and the residents of Escondido for just being so welcoming to our communities. It's an honor for us to be recognized alongside our Khmer and our Thai brothers and sisters. And Escondido has been so welcoming, and it's become a home to many of our festivals, including I'd like to say a small plug in June for our Lao Food Festival, June 20th, which will be our 4th annual Lao Food Festival. We're going to have it here, right here in Escondido. Once again, thank you for the honor and to recognize us. We're very honored and very grateful. Thank you.
Svaidi Bimai. My name is Bobby Udinarth. I am the chairwoman for the Lao Community Cultural Center, and I'm here joined with also my executive president, Tony Intavong, and I have my beautiful Miss Lao San Diego Court and executive team as well. I want to Thank you, absolutely. We have to support one another. I want to take the time to express my deep gratitude to the city of Escondido, in particular, Mayor White, and in particular, Councilmember Garcia. We feel so blessed and honored to have the support of a city like Escondido. As a matter of fact, last weekend, we just celebrated our Lao New Year here at the Escondido Performing Arts. It was yes, thank you. It was a beautiful event filled with so much love, so much joy, renewal, and hope. And we are so excited that we are also bringing the Lao Food Festival here in June. But I also want to extend my invitation to you. This weekend coming up, we have another Lao New Year at our temple in Wat Lao Budaram in San Diego. So again, it is with a spirit of love and unity. I want to see more of us Southwest brothers and sisters come together. Together we can do so much. And so I'm excited for 2026. Let's lock arms and do amazing things together. Sabaidi Be My Lao. Thank you so much.
Yeah. The last, I just would like to thank you, all the teacher, all the monk from Wat Thai Temple, Puttachak, and also the teacher, Ajahn Suprina from UCLA, also the all volunteer teacher and dance in our Escondido to make our culture and to make all the kids to have a chance to feel the culture of Thailand and also the music of Thailand. Thank you all, everyone to be here today. Thank you so much.
Can we get a picture with all of you? The rest of the council wants to come down for the photo.
Got a few more friends joining. Yeah, go for it. Thank you so much, everyone who joined for the Lao Thai Cambodian New Year. Really appreciate it. We're going to carry on with the rest of the business. You're welcome to stay, but it'll be a long meeting. You might want to go have dinner or something like that. So you're free to head out whenever you'd like, just to let you know.
All right, we have a number of presentations, but before we get to the annual volunteer program update presentation, I did want to announce that item 9, which is the Landscape Management District program, has been moved to a later date. So if you're here for that item, it has been continued.
I'll wait till everybody. Yes.
Good evening, Honorable Mayor, Deputy Mayor, and members of the council. My name is Leticia Leal, and I'm the Management Analyst for the Community Services Department, and I oversee our Volunteer Escondido program. In honor of National Volunteer Appreciation Month, I'm excited to share with you an annual program update. In today's presentation, I'll provide you with an overview of the Volunteer Escondido program. We'll go over our volunteer process, the different service opportunities that we offer, as well as our partnerships and events. And I'll also be sharing what's new and on the horizon for the program and provide you with a summary of our 2025 volunteer impact. The Volunteer Escondido program creates meaningful opportunities for residents and partners to work together and make a lasting impact in the community. Through collaboration with city programs and departments, neighbors, organizations, and community groups, strengthen connections and enhance the quality of life for all. By volunteering time, sharing resources, and working side by side, participants help build a brighter Escondido for future generations. And we have something for everyone. One-time volunteer opportunities, ongoing volunteer opportunities, youth service projects, and partnership events. Our Volunteer Escondido onboarding process is entirely online and digitally driven, which makes it easy for both individuals and groups to get involved. Volunteers begin by completing an online application and required waivers, and the appropriate city department or program then reviews those applications. And if necessary, background checks are conducted. Once approved, volunteers work directly with the departments or program to complete training and onboarding before starting their service. Overall, this process allows us to match volunteers with meaningful opportunities while ensuring our city programs are well supported and our volunteers feel prepared and engaged. Currently, the city offers a variety of different service opportunities. Boards and commissions appointed to volunteers, community service events, sponsored service projects are readily available when there is an interest from a group in helping fill a service that the city has, like our fire hydrant painting with our fire department. Our program volunteers, which are specific to ongoing city programs, such as our senior nutrition program, our literacy tutors, and our youth sports coaches. And our police and fire support volunteers perform a wide range of duties that support various operational facets of the Escondido Police and Fire Departments. Arts and culture opportunities support arts and cultural experiences throughout the city. For example, at Queen Califia's Magical Circle Garden in Kit Carson Park, volunteer docents welcome the public to enjoy this unique art installation. They share interesting facts, answer questions from visitors all around the world. We are proud to partner with 23 different schools and organizations and groups in the city. Here's a sample of some of the groups that we partner with. Love ESCO, which is a service organization partner that works with the city throughout the year to do several projects and an annual Love ESCO Day event. The San Diego Mountain Biking Association provides daily ranch bike trail maintenance for people to be able to access and enjoy our trails with their bikes in a safe way. Stepping Stones, Inc. and Community Interface Services are two organizations that support our senior nutrition program and the library, and they work to connect individuals with disabilities with opportunities to serve their community. If a group is interested in exploring volunteer partnership opportunities with the city, they can email volunteer@escondido.gov. I'm sorry. I think it's the wrong presentation. I'm sorry, one moment, please. My apologies, that was the wrong presentation that was uploaded. If a group is interested in exploring the volunteer partnership opportunities with the city, they can email the volunteer@escondido.gov email. Our Volunteer Escondido program hosts several events throughout the year, and here are a few examples of volunteer events that people can get involved with. Our Arbor Day is our annual tree planting event where volunteers help us plant trees in a different part of our city. Our Creek to Bay and Coastal Cleanup Days are in partnership with I Love a Clean San Diego, which is an organization that coordinates countywide cleanups twice per year to remove trash and litter. We host 3 different sites for each of the dates. And our pickup projects are monthly community cleanups held at different locations with the city, including Dixon Lake. Community members help us remove litter and trash to prevent from polluting waterways. We would like to invite the community to participate in our 2026 Arbor Day and Creek to Bay cleanups on Saturday, April 25th. Anyone who's interested in either event can register online at www.volunteer.escondido.org, or they can also scan our QR code and it'll take them right to the registration. We have some new additions to the program and some exciting things on the horizon. Our Keepers of the Queen is with one of our newest partners, Terry Inc., which connects individuals with disabilities to opportunities to serve their community. In collaboration with our public art program, Terry Inc. brings participants weekly to help with the light cleaning of Queen Califia's magical circle. Both docents and visitors have shared that their time and service are improving their visit experience. We are excited to share that this summer, in partnership with Compact, we will be relaunching our Adopt a Creek program, in which groups can adopt a section of the Escondido Creek Trail and hold monthly cleanups to ensure safe, clean, and beautiful travel path is accessible to all of our community members. And we, in collaboration with our information system staff, we also have a new youth service project proposal form, which we will be implementing on our website for youth to be able to submit service projects that they would like to propose to the city. Additionally, with the help of our information systems and graphics teams, we have also updated our volunteer.escondido.org website with new graphics, updated information, volunteer highlights, and a live impact counter. The counter showcases hours given by our volunteers since the city began tracking them in 1998. And in 2025, it reached over 500,000 hours. We have been able to capture some of the incredible impact and outcomes that our volunteers have had on the community. In 2025, our volunteer program had 1,574 active volunteers who gave a total of 26,475.5 hours, and we held 31 volunteer events. Through volunteer service, the city planted 135 trees, served 26,532 meals to seniors at the Park Avenue Community Center, and grew the Queen Califia's Magical Circle Garden docent program to 30 dedicated volunteers who donated 685 hours to welcome 15,220 visitors from 30 countries. As you can see, our volunteer program makes a huge impact on the community. We would like to extend our sincere gratitude to all of the volunteer community partners whose service and dedication helped us make a meaningful impact in our community. We're excited about the progress that we have made and look forward to the future impact our volunteers will continue to have in the community. in front of you, you should also have a small token of our appreciation for all of our volunteers. Next week for Volunteer Appreciation Week, all of our volunteers across the city will receive that gift from us as a token of our appreciation. I thank you for your time.
Thank you. Thank you for the presentation. Special shout out to the volunteer community partners that we have, and to everybody who spends their time and energy investing in the community and volunteering to make this a better city. So thank you to all. Anybody else?
Thank you for the presentation. I work a lot with the volunteer team staff, and you all are amazing, and just the residents just love working with you. So I'm excited about this program. Thanks to all the partners that make this possible, and thanks to the staff, because you really make it easy for people to want to volunteer for us.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you.
I too want to just say thank you. You know, as I've said before in other meetings, the council does make decisions up here, but it really takes all of us. And so for people in our community to step up and just pour into our community, and then, with helping the youth and the seniors, the city really wouldn't be thriving without the help of so many generous volunteers. Thank you.
Thank you.
Volunteers. And just, when I saw over 500,000 hours, wow. What else can I say? So thank you for taking the leadership, the time, and making it easier for those that want to volunteer. So thank you.
Of course, my pleasure. Thank you.
Thank you. All right, the next presentation is for We See You San Diego, a local nonprofit, and a little setup to this. I met Laura, 2 years ago. They have a nonprofit that operates in Escondido providing services to the homeless. You're going to hear all about that. But they recently found out they need to find a new location, so I invited them into here to share with the community what they do and just offer a platform to get the word out. Maybe we can find somewhere to meet their needs. So anyways, time is yours.
That's great. We can start with the video, if that's okay.
There's no audio.
Is there audio?
There's no audio.
Oh.
There we go.
There it is. There it is.
Somebody knows.
It's going to get loud real quick. Sorry.
At each day,
Yeah, roll it back.
every Tuesday night since 2017, an organization named We See You San Diego has served dinner to San Diegans suffering from homelessness and addiction. At each dinner, there is an invitation. All expenses paid for a program for those who want help putting drugs, alcohol, and homelessness behind them.
When we sow into someone's recovery, when we sow into their detox, we're sowing into new life. It's seeds of restoration, and that's my passion.
How's everything, guys? Good?
All are invited, including Ace, as he's known in the San Diego riverbed, where he'd been living for years. He was not only a heavy drug user, he was one of the leaders of the riverbed community's drug trade, a thriving business.
Fentanyl. Yeah, a lot of it.
Through We See You San Diego, Ace, whose actual name is Aaron, achieved sobriety in October of 2021 and graduated from Promise Bible College in 2024.
Aaron Barrett.
Aaron now works full-time and he oversees security at the Tuesday night dinners. He's also studying to become a peer support specialist so that he can help others.
911, what's your emergency?
Gypsy was dead.
Can you check for a pulse?
At least that's what her friends in her homeless community feared after she ingested fentanyl.
Tell me what you thought when she went down.
That she was gonna die. Imagine everybody freaking out.
CPR from a friend and then paramedics saved her life. But the draw to drugs was so strong, Gypsy went right back to her addictive habits. More than 15 years had passed since the grip of addiction caused her to separate from her husband and 2 children.
There was absolutely nothing that was beneath me. Nothing. I've robbed. I've stolen.
Following one of her more than 25 arrests, a lady named Sophia from We See You San Diego visited Gypsy in prison.
The only thing that worked was the one thing that nobody had ever done. And that was show me love.
She found that love at We See You San Diego. Now sober, Gypsy, whose real name is Candace, is passing on her lived experience as a key member of the We See You San Diego staff. That includes outreach. In fact, she's the one who helped Erin find a better path.
I was down here for 3 years. And she goes, "Aren't you ready to be done with all this?" And I was like, "Yeah." I was like, "But I don't have a way out." And she's like, "You do now."
I saw the man that I married. I hadn't seen him in 15 years.
That's right. This married couple had lost each other to drugs more than a decade ago. The We See You San Diego team has helped many addicts, including Blaze. He came to San Diego from Ohio in search of his parents, who had left him when he was just 7 years old.
They said they would help me find mom and dad. And so that was the main convincing point.
We See You San Diego delivered on its promise to help him find his parents, Candace and Aaron. A family saved by We See You San Diego. As for the Barrett's other child, Grace, she had been adopted by a wonderful family in Ohio way back when she was less than a year old. For the first time since 2007, the entire family was reunited at Christmas of 2023. It's a powerful portrait made possible by the power of love, the key ingredient in We See You San Diego's mission.
We are just so honored to be here, and it's just such a privilege to get to share with you. Thank you, Mayor Dane White, just so honored. But yeah, my name is Laura, and I get to be the executive director of that organization, We See You. And 9 months ago, we were invited to come to Escondido and set up a new location. Since 2017, we've been hosting these weekly dinner parties, and we were so excited to expand our reach and come up to Escondido. And it was actually Grace Church Escondido on North Escondido Boulevard, 725 North Escondido Boulevard, that gave us the invitation and opened its doors to us at no cost to our organization. And so for 9 months, we were there, we were partners with them. We hosted these lavish dinner parties out in their parking lot. We did the clothing service. We would do restaurant style service for our guests, and it was fantastic. But a couple of weeks ago, we became homeless ourselves because Grace Escondido lost their location just due to a leasing issue. And they're now in another location, but it wouldn't accommodate necessarily what We See You does. And so we are looking for a new home, and we're so glad to be here to share about that need. You can go to the next one. So the parties that we throw on Thursday nights, we do in San Diego, our location is in Old Town, and we do that on Tuesday nights. But in Escondido, we host on Thursday nights. And basically the way it works is just welcoming people in and cultivating relationships around the table so that we can meet the immediate needs of hunger, hygiene, and clothing. And we do that to show people that we believe they're of value, we believe they're worthy, not just as individuals, but also worthy of a better life. And if we could be the ones that offer them a solution, that's really our mission. Our mission is to see lives transformed among men and women experiencing homelessness and addiction. So what we do is we extend an invitation every week. So when people are there and we're getting to know them around the table, we also extend the invitation if somebody is struggling with fentanyl, methamphetamine, alcohol addiction. Our organization will provide a fully funded, customized pathway for that individual from the place that they're at on the streets, fully dependent on substances, off the street by way of beginning with detox if they need it, a short-term medical detox, and then we transition them right into, so there's no gaps, long-term residential recovery. So homelessness ends immediately when they accept the invitation. And so then residential recovery, whether it's 6 months, 9 months, 12 months, and we do that based on what they need. Some people who've been homeless for a short amount of time might need a working program. So we would cover the cost of their rent to get them into a working program. Some people need more downtime and some more recovery, and so we cover the cost of that residential recovery. Meanwhile, we're walking alongside them the entire time, continuing to build those relationships, taking them to appointments, doctor's appointments, court appointments, whatever it is, and being part of family restoration. We're there as support because most of our friends they don't have high relational equity, and we are the bridge that they can't burn. So we walk alongside them the entire time, celebrate ceremonies where they're receiving chips for their sobriety. We're at graduations. And then we offer 2 months of sober living sponsored by our organization as well, so that when people are ready to work, they have a head start instead of being behind on rent. So we help with that. And then our most exciting part is offering people the opportunity to be part of our team, to be part of the solution in San Diego, in Escondido, wherever we're doing outreach, so that they could be living a life of purpose ultimately and being part of the solution. And there is no one that has more authority in that space than someone who was there and now has a solution, especially when people recognize people on our team who used to be on the streets. So ultimately, that is what we do. And it has been, the 9 months we were in Escondido, it just felt like we were just so called to be there. We had made such wonderful relationships with people, and we saw lots of fruit, and I just wanted to share that with you. Real quick, the impact that we had as far as guests being served, and this is just for 9 months of Thursday nights in Grace's parking lot. 1,805 guests served dinner. Volunteers, which I love that it's almost as many volunteers. What was so beautiful about these Thursday night parties is it was men and women from the community. We worked with Love Esco to get volunteers in, but we also worked with local churches to get them involved. And we had local churches sponsoring the dinners. So we had people from all different congregations, all different walks of life in the community coming together, and it was beautiful. Hygiene items distributed, 420 pounds, of course at no cost to anyone, our guests, just whatever they needed. Clothing distributed, 3,762 pounds. Blankets given, 1,669 pounds. And then my favorite number is the amount of recovery pathways created and people who said yes to the invitation was 43 men and women. And yeah, it's just been an honor then to walk alongside those people who said yes. And I just think about Grace Church and the fact that if they hadn't said yes, that's 43 people that their lives would not have been impacted. So, and then all of those seeds that were being able to be planted every Thursday night where we did that dinner. So we see you as looking for a space in an area of need in Escondido. We are really open-minded to what that looks like, and just it's so great to be able to present that to all of you. Our dinner parties take place outdoors in a parking lot. We need parking space for volunteers and parking space to set up our dinner party. We need minimal space indoors. It would just be like 2 rooms for our party supplies, 1 for our clothing closet and 1 for the supplies we need, like storage for tables and chairs. And Grace Escondido and all of our church partners usually offer us space at no cost to our organization. We only need it once a week, and it is really for, setup to tear down is about 4 hours total. So what we do to support that throughout the week is outreach in Escondido, inviting people to a rad dinner party in their honor. So that's what we do, and that's what we're looking for. And then last of all, I just wanted to close and invite a friend up. I thought it would be really important for all of you to hear what it's like for somebody who has said yes to the invitation. And so my dear friend and now coworker, Keith Cofield, is going to come up and share.
How are you guys doing? Thank you. My name is Keith, and that guy on your screen, that was me. That was less than a year ago. I was homeless in Pacific Beach for 12 years, addicted to opiates mostly, fentanyl, meth, and dependent on Suboxone for about 25 years of my life. In that time, I was in and out of jail repeatedly, career criminal, just anything for the fix. I was also deeply involved in occult practices, ritual magic, all the gnarliness that was in my life. I found out recently that addiction is not the problem, it's a symptom of a problem, and that problem is trauma. My trauma dealt with inferiority complexes, abandonment issues, feeling unloved, inadequate. As I was out there on the streets and just like sitting in gutters and just sitting in the alleys, I would think, you know, is there anyone who really cares in the city? And I remember waking up one time from an overdose and being upset that I was alive, because I had nothing to live for. And I realized pretty quick that when all doorways are closed to you, death becomes a door. I tried 7 state-funded programs. I only finished one of those. I ran out of funding in sober living and was kicked back out to the street right before I received my paycheck so I could self-pay. I was on the streets for 7 months and was arrested, or before I was arrested, and I ran into a lady named Candace, who you saw in the video, and she asked me if I wanted a way out, and I didn't know anything about WeSeeU at the time, and I didn't believe her because I knew her from the streets, and she was not one to be believed. So she wrote down her number, and I went on my way. About 2 weeks later, I got arrested for being on the run from violation of probation, and I thought about that number that I had in my pocket when I was arrested, and I said, you know what, I'm going to try this, because she looked different, and I wanted to be different. Today, I'm fully surrendered to Jesus Christ, the only true healer that there is. I'm an employee of WeSeeU San Diego. I do data analytics and volunteer engagement. I'm a faith-based program graduate, fully reintegrated into society. I live a purpose-driven life, passionate about giving back. Excuse me. My family is being reunited. I'm reconnected to my relationship with my mother for the first time in 13 years. And I've been brought into a family who loves me, and I belong to a community of true friends. And just so you know, I'll never think about using drugs again, and I'm never going to be homeless again. This is the only way that works. Thank you.
Before you go, thank you for coming. Keith, right on, man. Congratulations. If anybody in this room or anybody watching this knows of space available, how can they get a hold of you to let you know?
That would be great. WeSeeUSanDiego.com is our website, and we will respond immediately.
Okay, perfect.
We want to be in Escondido. We love Esco.
Yeah, we want you here. So thank you. Thank you for the service you provide to the community.
Thank you.
I have a number for you.
Oh, perfect.
See how that works?
That works so well.
All right, last presentation is on Senate Bill 1383, the statewide mandatory organic waste collection.
Good evening, Mayor, Deputy Mayor, and City Council members. I'm Chris McKinney, Deputy City Manager. As they're coming down and getting settled in, I just wanted to introduce them because we have one new employee and one not new employee at all, but new to the City Council presentation arena, so I wanted to introduce them both. First is Kim Silva. Kim is our Utility Environmental Programs Manager. She's been with the city for 18 years, so a longtime city employee. When she first came to the city, she was a part-time admin support staff member in the utilities department while she was a student at CSUSM, where she earned her degree and then turned that degree into a position as an environmental program specialist, and she worked her way up to manager. Outside of work, she enjoys playing soccer, and she's also a student of the violin. Next to Kim is Fernando Moreno. He is a relatively new employee, been with us about 9 months now, since last summer. Fernando is our recycling supervisor in the environmental program section of the utilities department. And he came to us from the private sector, most recently working for FES Engineers. And outside of work, he has been a student of mixed martial arts since he was 12. And so with that introduction, I'll turn it over to Kim and Fernando. Thank you.
Thank you, Chris. Good evening, Mayor, Deputy Mayor, and Council. My name is Kim Silva, the Environmental Programs Manager, and with me tonight is Fernando Moreno, the Recycling Supervisor. We work in the Recycling and Waste Reduction section of the Utilities Department, and we're here tonight to provide an overview and an update of SB 1383 legislation. So tonight's presentation will include the background of SB 1383, how the legislation has impacted the city residents and businesses, and updates on program implementation. So what is SB 1383? The official name is the California Short-Lived Climate Pollutant Reduction Act, often referred to as the Organics Recycling Law, or simply SB 1383. We will be referring to it by that name during this presentation. This state law requires that every resident and business separate their organic waste. Organic waste refers to all food, green waste, and other biodegradable products such as paper and cardboard. The diagram here shows the timeline of the legislation, and most recently, by 2025, targets were established to reduce organic waste in landfills statewide by 75% and to recover at least 20% of surplus food. However, we don't know yet whether we've met those targets statewide, as our annual reports were due towards the end of last year, and CalRecycle is still reviewing those. So how does SB 1383 impact city residents and businesses? The most visible change for households and businesses is the container system. Under the regulations, all residents and businesses are required to separate their organic waste from trash. If you recall, EDI delivered green bins and kitchen caddies to help sort out your organic waste. Businesses are required to separate their organic waste from the trash bins. However, if they do not produce organic waste, we do have waivers for them to be submitted. Certain food-generating businesses are required to be inspected by staff to ensure that they are donating as much edible food as they would otherwise dispose of. Another component is that cities are to buy back compost, mulch, and other products made from diverted organic waste. Escondido Disposal and the city maintain a strong collaboration and are a vital component of achieving compliance with SB 1383. For example, the investment in the first anaerobic digestion facility here in town is designed to meet SB 1383's goals and achieve those methane reduction targets. The organic waste collected here in town is converted into renewable natural gas and renewable energy. And to meet the buyback of compost and mulch requirements, EDI provides and delivers mulch and compost to residents and city facilities free of charge. EDI also created and maintains the city's implementation record, which is required by the legislation. So all of our program documentations are housed in that portal. Additionally, to meet the monitoring requirements, route reviews and container evaluations are conducted using camera-equipped vehicles. If contamination is observed, notices are issued paired with an educational guidance. EDI also mails out quarterly newsletters to residents and businesses, and they partner with us on outreach opportunities. SB 1383 also requires that cities purchase recycled content paper when it is available at the same price or less than the original material. There's also a component of record keeping for this program, so staff is working with internal departments and outside vendors to achieve compliance in this program. The legislation divides commercial food generators into two tiers, each with different compliance deadlines. And this was CalRecycle's way of phasing the inspection requirements for cities to attain. So in tier 1, we have wholesale food vendors, supermarkets, grocery stores. Tier 2, we have restaurants, health facilities, large venues. These generators must establish agreements with local food recovery organizations to safely donate surplus food and maintain records of those donations. The city averages around 80 businesses that staff inspects at least once every 2 years. This number does fluctuate as businesses change their operation, they close, or new businesses come in. And if businesses don't have food to donate, they are removed from the list and put on a watch list. And the tables here represent the breakdown of how many businesses in the city fall into which category. And now Fernando will be discussing the food donation program.
Thank you, Kim. Good evening, everyone. I am Fernando Moreno, the Recycling Program Supervisor. As Kim mentioned, jurisdictions are required to establish an edible food recovery program in the city if there wasn't already one existing. But what are the specific requirements for the jurisdictions? Food recovery capacity. Jurisdictions are required to evaluate existing edible food recovery capacity and plan for expansion if needed. This means that cities will have to work with their food recovery organizations and their edible food generators to ensure that there's enough capacity to accept food donations and to distribute them to the community. Education and outreach. Jurisdictions must provide education and outreach to the edible food generators, and this does include identifying the Tier 1 and Tier 2 generators and informing them of their Tier 1 and Tier 2 status. A lot of these businesses are unaware that they fall within the Tier 1 and Tier 2 businesses. Next up, compliance monitoring. Jurisdictions are required to conduct compliance monitoring or inspections of all Tier 1 and Tier 2 businesses. These inspections must be ongoing and are done to ensure a business is meeting all of the requirements, such as record keeping and donating the maximum amount of food. For the record keeping, jurisdictions must verify that these businesses are keeping records of all their donations, to who they're donating to, and are keeping those food recovery agreements or contracts. This is important because the state actually requires jurisdictions to report on those numbers annually. Lastly, jurisdictions are required to enforce on any non-compliant businesses that are not meeting the food donation requirements. Here there are two pictures, one from a food recovery organization on the left. This shows the type of food that businesses will donate. There are usually large amounts of food per day that have to be distributed out by the food recovery organization. On the right, there's a supermarket, and this is a pantry or storage area where they put all the food that they will put out for donations. During our compliance monitoring or site visits, we do see a lot of businesses are now designating areas for food donations. Some businesses are buying freezers, some are buying fridges, or have entire storage areas just for donations. These two tables up here show some numbers for SB 1383. The first table provides an overview of the number of generators that were reported in 2024. For residential generators, there were 26,650 residential generators, and all these generators have an organics container. So they have three waste streams, so trash, recycling, and organics. Commercial generators, there were 1,886 generators. Of these, 365 did receive an organics waiver, which means they didn't have to have that organic service. On the table below, we provide an overview of the food donation numbers that we saw in 2024. We last reported that there were 69 Tier 1 and Tier 2 edible food generators. We now know that that number is higher. These numbers are always changing. But at the 2024, these numbers were at 69. We do have 11 food recovery organizations here in the city, and for the 2024 numbers, we did report that there were 1,081,859 pounds of food donated, and that's food that would otherwise have gone to waste. So this was food that was donated that likely would have ended up in the landfill or organic waste bin. And how do we ensure that our programs are successful? We do provide a lot of education and outreach. This is actually an SB 1383 requirement. Jurisdictions are required to provide educational resources to residents, to commercial businesses, to city facilities. Pretty much all the general public has to receive some sort of educational resource. We do provide flyers, there are newsletters, there's also a lot of outreach events. Up there you see a picture of one of our most recent events with Councilwoman Martinez. We did attend that event. There was a lot of outreach. We speak to the community, a lot of fun. And then you also see some of the signage that can be found in commercial businesses. And this is all done as part of our inspection process. We do take an education first inspection process. We do provide education when we're out there inspecting businesses. During the inspections, we do meet up with business managers, owners. We ask to see the inside of their kitchens. We go to the back of their waste bins. We flip through all that. And there is a snippet of the inspection forms that we use. It's a 4-page form. We do collect a lot of information. Even though we do take an education-first approach, SB 1383 does require us to have an enforcement mechanism in place. We do have language in our Escondido Municipal Code that does allow us to provide financial penalties if needed, but our process is we inspect, we provide technical assistance, and if we find that a business is out of compliance, we do give them a 60-day minimum compliance period. Should this business remain out of compliance, we do provide them, or we do give them a notice of violation. If during that time they still have not made an effort, we do work with them. We conduct staff training. We provide them with educational materials. We do multiple site visits if needed. And then we give them another 60 days to get in compliance. If there's still no action on the business's part to get into compliance, then we do have the capability to hand over financial penalties. At this time, we have not had to do that to any of our Escondido businesses.
Thank you, Fernando. So cities can also face enforcement from CalRecycle. We complete an annual site visit with the local assistant branch of CalRecycle. The goal of that site visit is to confirm that jurisdictions are on the right path to compliance or work through any challenges that we may face. There's also a second branch known as the enforcement team. That team is responsible for evaluating and enforcing on jurisdictions. We were recently notified that an evaluation will take place within the next 18 months, but we've also learned that CalRecycle focuses on early identification and communicating issues early on before taking any type of enforcement on cities. The image here depicts that enforcement process timeline. So if a deficiency is found, a notice of violation will be issued. Cities have 90 days to correct that issue, and you can request another 90 days extension. If within that time frame, cities still can't come into compliance, a corrective action plan is issued. And ultimately, if cities cannot get compliance or are negligence within that 3 years, CalRecycle can issue monetary fines ranging from $500 to $10,000 per day, depending on how many violations are identified. And lastly, I'd like to highlight some of the recycling and waste reduction resources that we have for staff and residents. We collaborate with EDI on organizing 2 e-waste and shred events, which is happening on June 6th. We also host compost workshops and give away compost or mulch throughout the year. And as we wrap up the calendar year with the annual Christmas tree recycling program, where residents can drop off their Christmas trees at either Kit Carson Park or Jesmond Dean Park. And that concludes our presentation. So if there's any questions, we're happy to answer them.
Thank you for the presentation. I have no questions. I'll turn it over to the council.
I I maybe have a couple questions, but I want to start off with some comments. So I have the privilege of attending the San Diego Regional Waste Association board meetings with this team. And you're not here when I brag about you guys, but we, Escondido, have been used as an example over and over again for the rest of the county because of the education that you provide, also with the amount of food recovery that's given out, for donations and recycling, amongst so many more things. So I'm really glad that you're here and highlighting what you do. You're not bragging on yourself at all, so I'm going to have to do it for you. But again, you're always there. You're always out in the community, and I'm just so proud to be able to say that you're on our team and the county notices. I do have a question regarding the food recovery. So we work with organizations that receive the food and then distribute it. Is there room for more organizations to participate? And if so, where can they contact you?
So we have a list on our website, and yes, there's always room. That's one of the challenges that we have, is that businesses have food to donate, but connecting those two. They can contact us. We have a recycling@escondido.gov email, and they can be put on our list, and we can connect them with restaurants or whatever businesses is looking for a donation program.
Okay, great. Well, I appreciate you. Thank you for being on our team, and I'm glad your boss is here to hear about all the good work that you do. Thank you.
Thank you for sharing with us everything that you're doing. It's great. I remember when I began seeing in restaurants the 3 bins where we could actually take what we've done with and divide it ourselves like we do at home. And I thought that was great. One concern. It seems to me that there might be a disconnect from the 3-bin system to for commercial facilities, and then where does it go? If there's only one big trash container, it seems like they just all put it back together. We feel good dividing it, but then the business itself just throws it away. Normal, with no division. So I wonder if there is something that we can begin to educate our business owners and or the other companies that work with us to make sure that there is availability to be able to, once it's all divided up, that we could provide that. So that's a concern or that I've seen that we may need to work on a little.
Yeah, I agree. That's a great concern. We see that too on our inspections, and not just in businesses, but multifamily and residents, right? Like we do that initial first step, but then after, who is taking it out? Where is it going? So it's an education component too on the maintenance folks and getting the proper streams in place.
Thank you.
Thank you for the presentation and for your partnership. It was nice having you at the Earth Day Escondido event. And you answered my question I was going to ask about the food recovery organizations, if you have that on the website, but it's there. So
it is a requirement for us to have it on our website.
Great.
So
thank you so much.
Thank
No
you.
other questions?
Thank you both.
Thank you.
Thank you.
All right, next item is our workshop for missing middle housing.
Good evening, Mayor, Deputy Mayor, City Council members. It's nice to be back before you this evening.
Kevin, you mind checking your mic real quick? I think I got turned off. Yes, sir.
Thank you. So before I start, I just wanted to note that this conversation, and this is a conversation, in the workshop format, I really do hope that we can engage in a conversation. And as we go through this evening, please feel free to stop me, ask any questions, ask for additional information. I'll be happy to provide it if I can. About 2 months ago, on February 17th, the Housing Subcommittee had a similar conversation. And at the end of that subcommittee meeting, the subcommittee asked that the entire council have this conversation. So that's why we're here this evening. So before we jump in, you're going to hear the term missing middle housing, and I just want to put some context around what it really is. It is a term that is tossed about, but what does it really mean? It means more housing choices at its core. So oftentimes when people are talking about missing middle housing, they're talking about the things that you may see in Escondido or in other communities. They're talking about duplexes, triplexes, townhomes. We have a fair amount of townhomes happening in the city currently, and what they call cottage courts. You may see these where you walk up, it's a small 10-unit, single-story cottages that have a common area between them. Oftentimes they have different price points on the ownership side. Typically they are less expensive. And there are reasons why that I'll explain in a few minutes. They oftentimes are referred to as gentle density. And what that really means is that these type of projects, if they happen, tend to go into areas where they are at scale with the surrounding neighborhood, meaning that they are not too tall, they are not overdensified, and there's a real desire to fit into the existing neighborhood. And missing middle is not new. I'm going to show you a picture in a short while of an existing missing middle situation here in Escondido. Missing middle has been around for a very long time. As an older city, Escondido shares that distinction, like many older cities, of having missing middle housing, particularly in its downtown and surrounding neighborhoods. So we're all aware of the current housing crisis and the challenges that that poses for our residents, whether they be owners or renters. And I like to say that housing requires a toolbox approach. There are many tools that we have to use in addressing this housing crisis. And missing middle housing is just one tool, but I believe an important tool. So I wanted to kind of frame some of the issues that are highlighting this conversation. And I'm sure you're all aware of the various headlines that you see in the paper, whether it be online or in person, regarding housing challenges, both in our city, in the state, and nationwide. And they are very real. It's referred to as the housing affordability crisis, the housing crisis. It has a variety of names, but it lends to some unique situations that are happening right now that are all kind of converging at once. And I'm going to go into further detail, but just to give you an example, slowing housing starts. We don't produce as much housing as we used to, and there are a variety of reasons, but that means that even though there's a need, we are not seeing the level of production to meet that need. There are increased home buying costs. If anyone's bought a home recently, you feel that pain. Home buying costs range from the cost of the housing to the amount of the down payment to the various fees that you have to pay. And so it is becoming very challenging for certain segments of the population to afford a home. There is this concept of the frozen housing cycle. And really what that means is that in a normal situation, people cycle through housing. You might start out in an apartment. You might move to a condominium or a townhome. You might move to a single family home. If you're downsizing, you might move back to an apartment or a condominium. But there is a cyclical nature to how people move through housing. But right now, we are frozen. And part of that is because of the change in interest rates. A lot of people who were able to get lower interest rates are not willing to give up that benefit, and understandably so. But that means that that cycle is either slowing down or frozen. So I wanted to give you some context around some of these issues. So there is a variety of issues that are affecting nationwide. And as you can see on this chart, in just the 4 years since 2021, there has been a significant reduction in the amount of housing being produced in the United States. We are down to below 1,400,000 units a year, which seems like a lot, but with the amount of housing need throughout the United States, it isn't enough. Even when it was in 2022, when it was almost 1.8 million, it still wasn't enough. So the fact that we are not producing that housing is a problem. And as I mentioned, there are high homeownership costs. This chart, which several of the next charts, there is an organization called the Joint Center for Housing Studies out of Harvard University. And for the last 40 years, they've been producing a nationwide study looking at housing issues throughout the nation. And so what they have compiled is information, both on this slide and the next few slides, that tells the state of housing. And as you can see, the cost of housing, whether it be a mortgage interest rate, your mortgage payment, or the price of housing, are all trending up. And those three things happening all at once make housing, again, more expensive. There are rising cost burdens. So cost burden basically means if you're spending more than 30% of your income on housing, including utilities, you're a cost burden. And what we're seeing is that nationally, that cost burden is going up, both for renters and homeowners. And the bottom chart shows you specifically Escondido. This is from the city's consolidated plan. And what it shows is that a significant portion of our population is burdened. They're spending more on housing, and that is inhibiting their ability to spend on other things. And it's posing challenges. It may put people closer to the edge than they would like to be and we want them to be. We also have low housing inventories nationwide. And again, this chart, I think, tells the story. We have been going down. We really went down between 2022 and 2024. We're inching back up, but less than 6 months supply of housing is not a lot when there is such significant demand for housing. And this is a nationwide figure. And then again, the home buying costs have gone up. In 2021, if you got a 2.96% interest rate, you were doing really well. Right now, it's hovering around 6 to 7%. It's trended down recently, but that's still a significant amount of money and monetary impact to people's ability to purchase as well as their ability to move up in that frozen housing cycle situation I just described. So let's transition for a second to the state. So as you're all well aware, the state of California over the last 10 years has been doing a lot in the area of housing. They have passed 500 new laws pertaining to housing. A lot of these laws, as you're well aware, have put limitations on local control, whether through zoning or other restrictions. Unfortunately, these laws have not resulted in the housing production that's needed by the state. We need to meet current demand about 200,000 housing units new annually. And we're producing about 100,000 plus or minus. So even with all these efforts, and a lot of them have already been experienced in Escondido, a lot of them have been enacted, we are still falling short as a state. So let's take it down to Escondido. So today we have a total households of about 50,000, and we have owner-occupied households of about 53%. That's lower than the national average of 65%, and it's also lower than the statewide average. So we have less owner-occupied housing in Escondido than we perhaps would like. We have an average median household income in Escondido of about $91,967. That is more than the nationwide average, but less than the statewide average. And in Escondido, we currently have persons in poverty of about 12%, more than the nationwide average, but less than the statewide average. In a minute, I'll explain why these statistics are important. So when you want to purchase a home in Escondido, the average median sale price as of December of 2025 in Escondido is $810,000. If you want to purchase a home for $810,000 with the current interest rates and the fees, you have to earn an income of approximately $230,000 a year to be able to afford that. That's a significant income, and as noted earlier, the average median income currently in Escondido is almost $92,000. So it is difficult to purchase homes in Escondido. It's equally difficult to purchase in our surrounding cities. So we are not alone in this pain. Our residents are not alone in this pain, but it is a pain. Oops, excuse me. The average rental price in Escondido as of January of this year is $2,621. That's averaged across all rental housing types, whether it's a studio bedroom or a 4-bedroom. So Escondido is, compared to some of our neighbors, doing well. But $2,621 is still a lot of money to rent. And for a lot of folks, it may be beyond their capacity. And then, as you are aware, and has been discussed in the past, we are part of the Regional Housing Needs Assessment process. And the 6th cycle that completed a few years ago put an obligation of about 9,607 housing units, the 3rd highest in the region, on Escondido. We got credit for units that were already in production. So right now, we have 6,985 housing units that we are supposed to facilitate. RENA doesn't require you to build the housing units, but it does require you to, through your housing element, identify where housing can be built and develop the strategies and plans around facilitating the building of that housing, whether it be single-family homes, multifamily apartments, or missing middle housing. So, as I mentioned, there is what is the housing cycle is also another way to talk about that is the housing spectrum. And what you find is that based on income, there are types of housing that are available to individuals and families. And it is really based on income. So you may, from the times that we talk about community development block grant funding or home funding, you often hear about average median income and how that influences the distribution of those funds. So to give you an example, 30% of average median income is $27,590. As you may remember, to rent in Escondido right now is $2,621. That is going to strain someone making 30% of average median income, their ability to find rental housing in Escondido. And at 50% average median income, slightly better. You're going to probably get close. 80% of average median income, you're going to do all right. You're going to be able to afford that. And at 120% of average median income, you're over $110,000. You're in a much better place for affording housing. But remember, right now to buy a house in Escondido, the average median sale price is $810,000, and you need an income of $230,000. So there is a distance between the highest income and the income needed to purchase a home today. And as I mentioned, we do have this frozen housing cycle. What we are really seeing in the marketplace right now is that the industry, the housing industry, is really focusing on single-family homes, to some extent townhouses. You're seeing a lot of townhouse production in the city, and there was actually an article today in the San Diego Union Tribune that talked about housing production countywide and how that is becoming the housing of choice because it is easier to build and it's more affordable. But absent the townhouse production, the market is more comfortable in single-family home production and apartment production. So the in-between, the missing middle, does not get a lot of attention normally. So here's a more formal definition of missing middle housing, and this got developed by a gentleman named Daniel Perlek. And in 2010, he came up with this term, and it has become a conversational piece around it. So I wanted to point out, if you were around in 1900 and you wanted to buy a home from Sears, Roebuck and Company, you could buy a side-by-side duplex for about $2,600. You could buy a stacked duplex for about $2,300. That is the equivalent of about $85,000 to $90,000 today. This is not a new housing type. It's been talked about, it's been sold. And in fact, the picture on the bottom is taken right here in Escondido at East 4th Street in Elm. And if you look at the left, that is the Monte Cristo Villas. It's a 9-unit condominium complex. Across the street are single-family homes. So this idea of integration of missing middle housing has happened in Escondido and possibly could happen again. This is a very busy screen. And I did that purposely because this conversation around missing middle housing is happening all over the United States. It's happening in Denver and Chicago. It's happening in Dallas. It's happening in Tacoma, Washington. It's happening in Portland, Oregon. It's happening in the city of Sacramento, California, which has become kind of the leader in the state in missing middle housing. They went through a very extensive multi-year process, developed a very ambitious plan, spent a significant amount of time talking to the community, and got a lot of buy-in and interest on this type of housing. It is such in the conversation that AARP has actually produced several guidebooks on missing middle housing. So this is a topic that is not exclusive to any state, any community. It is happening all over the United States because there is a nationwide housing crisis. There is not anywhere basically you can go in the United States right now where someone is not concerned about housing because it has become an issue that all of us at some level are facing. For those on the subcommittee, you've seen this before, and I'm going to just highlight that missing middle housing is what is in the middle between those dashed lines. So that is your duplex. That is a fourplex, a courtyard building, a cottage court, townhouses, what they call a multiplex, which is lower density apartment, triple stacked, which is just stacking units on top of each other, and sometimes you see live work, where people not only have the chance to live, but actually work on the bottom of their residence. And the pictures below show you real-life examples of those. And as I said, you will find pretty much all of these somewhere in Escondido. So to give you an example of what this could look like, our friends in the city of Ukiah have been working on a missing middle housing strategy for that city. And they prepared this graphic, which I thought was a really good representation of what missing middle housing could look like in a neighborhood. So in the far back, you have the existing neighborhood. In the front, you have it with missing middle housing. Now, the goal of missing middle housing is not to take over and dominate existing neighborhoods. It's to integrate. It's to scale at a similar level of what is already there. So as you look and think about missing middle housing, I encourage you to think about it at that scale. Missing middle housing can be as low as 2 units to an acre to a max of, say, 19 units to an acre. It is lower density than you might see in other parts of Escondido and other parts of the state or the nation. And it's purposely that way because it is intended to bring different housing product type to bear. So what are the benefits of missing middle housing? As I mentioned before, it's more housing choices. One of the biggest issues in the housing crisis is there is not enough diversity of housing product type. And if you go back to that housing cycle that I mentioned, you want and need different types of housing to cycle through. But if you're only building certain types of housing, you're not getting the choice. And with that choice, you're not getting the opportunity for more favorable purchase points and the opportunity to be not cost burdened. It's typically less expensive to build. And that is because oftentimes the land costs and the cost of materials and labor is less than a single family home and or apartment structures. You can get the quote unquote economies of scale by building multiple units together, and you're basically just using those same cost centers for more than one unit. I've already mentioned gentle residential density, but I'll mention it again. Missing middle housing is intended to be integrated be supportive, not stand out, not be ill-fitting into a neighborhood, and also to make residents feel that their new neighbors are living a similar life to them. Oftentimes, missing middle housing is developed with walkability in mind, with the idea that it is located, when possible, near transit, near sidewalks, and near services. Oftentimes, you have reduced parking demand with missing middle housing. Again, if you're able to site near those transit and services, you can often attract what is called car light users. These may be individuals who don't have a car. They may be households that share a car. And so oftentimes you find that the vehicle impacts of missing middle are less than typical single-family homes or multifamily housing. There is the opportunity to meet market demand. This is the downsizing that I mentioned earlier. This is the opportunity for first-time home buyers. And this is an opportunity for folks that are currently renters right now who want to become owners, because again, it's more housing choice, and it is the opportunity to move up without being cost burdened. And it might go without saying, but I will make the point that missing middle housing allows housing for diverse incomes. You can be making $45,000 a year and perhaps afford a missing middle housing. You could be making that $75,000 a year and afford it. It is more diversity of housing product type, and more opportunity to afford at the income level you're currently at. Again, tonight is a conversation. Council is not being asked to take any action. I'm hoping that you'll have some wonderful questions and we can have a robust conversation like we did at the subcommittee meeting. But as you think about missing middle housing, I do want to throw out some considerations for you. Any strategy around missing middle housing really requires conversations with the community and stakeholders. Stakeholders, for example, could be the Building Industry Association. It could be the Realtors Association. Community members need to be involved in the conversation. They need to weigh in with their thoughts and ideas. I mentioned the city of Sacramento. They spent almost 3 years talking to the community before they took any actions. They went into neighborhoods. They talked about what fit in the neighborhoods. They had the developers there. The developers talked about what they could do. And it was, for lack of a better way of saying it, a collaborative conversation. So it is important to bring the community into the conversation and make sure that if any strategy was to come forward, that they are part of that conversation. Oftentimes with missing middle housing, you will find that there are some traditional zoning constraints. That may mean that the idea of having duplexes or fourplexes or triplexes in certain parts of the city is not allowed currently. Again, remember some of those pictures I showed you where it exists side by side, including in Escondido. So it is not a foreign concept, but it may not be supported by the current regulations we have in place. There may be interest in regulatory and or financial incentives. Regulatory, again, that's what are in our regulations, our codes today that are inhibiting or not allowing missing middle housing types to move forward. Financial incentives, one of the challenges of missing middle housing, and if anyone involved in that industry will tell you, is they do not have the financial resources that the larger builders do. These are typically more infill builders, and so oftentimes they need some assistance, and some local governments have looked at that as a possibility of increasing housing diversity. They have looked at different fee structures. That might be a conversation that the city would want to have if this was a strategy you were interested in. You've heard the term objective design standards, I'm sure. And this is something that will be coming back to you in the very near future regarding accessory dwelling units. But one of the things, and it's true in any form of development, developers want certainty and they want timing. So certainty and timing are important. The certainty side can be met by objective design standards. And what does that mean? That basically means that your code says exactly what you want. It's not vague. You're not going down paths where someone's scratching their head or they're calling staff 10 times because they don't understand what's being written. It is literally almost in a checklist approach. What the city is wanting and expecting of developers. That certainty makes it much easier for them to develop their business plans and figure out if they can afford to do a project. And this is something that the state has actually mandated statewide. So this is a topic, whether or not there is missing middle housing in the city of Escondido at some point, there will be objective design standards because the state has told us we have to do it. A lot of local governments are, as I mentioned, talking about missing middle housing and making it a priority of focus of their housing toolbox. So that would be something that, again, if there was any interest in Escondido, of where does this fit in the city priorities for addressing housing? And how much focus does the city want to give to it? Streamlining of planning processes. I mentioned certainty and timing as the currency of development. Timing and getting through the processes that are required by local governments can make or break projects, particularly smaller scale projects. So creating the minimal amount of barriers and a very clear path through that process is important. That's important for all types of development, but it's particularly important for this type of housing because again, they do not have the scale, they do not have the financial resources to perhaps go through an elongated process where literally every day is dollars. Different parking requirements. I mentioned earlier that a lot of times missing middle housing is used by car light users. So a lot of times local governments are looking at, do we want to have different parking requirements for this type of housing? Particularly if it's sited near transit, retail, other services. And the last bullet is kind of an interesting one. So if you are doing anything beyond 2 units under the currently adopted building codes that we have in Escondido, anything beyond 2 units, you are going to be regulated not by the residential building code, but by the commercial building code. And why is that important? Because the requirements go up, the expectations go up. The city of Dallas, Texas went through a year-long conversation about this and ultimately decided to support more housing choice, that they were going to change that 2 units to 9 units. And that was an opportunity to fill the gap with this type of housing, where before, based on needing to build to a commercial standard, it might not, quote unquote, pencil for many builders. So that's the end of my part of the conversation. Here are some questions to help the council start your part of the conversation. I, again, encourage you to be interactive, and I look forward to talking with you. Thank you.
To answer your question there, yes, this should be part of the city's toolbox. I only have one thing to say, besides thank you for the presentation. After you gave the presentation in the subcommittee, I started taking different routes home on purpose to try to see where this has kind of been implemented already. And I noticed, like where I live, the entire block is apartment complexes versus where my dad lives. He's on one of 4 cul-de-sacs that are identical of single-family homes. And just the added character to the other areas, I think that alone is worth exploring. But overall, I'm excited about this. I think it should definitely be part of the toolbox. And whatever you need from us to get the conversation started, I'm all in.
Thank you, Mayor.
Thank you for that. As for me, this is great information. This is very much what I've been looking for pretty much from day one on my time on the council. So there's so much to digest right here. There's so much to study that I don't really have any questions or any feedback in terms or comments, I should say. It's exciting, the potential here. This is, I really want to just go full speed into this and see where this leads us to. But all in all, I mean, this is exactly what I think we need. Thank you.
Thank you for your presentation. And this is the second time I've gotten to hear it, so I keep getting more and more. Could we go back to slide 20 real quick? Community stakeholder conversation. So after the housing development subcommittee meeting, I was thinking of some things. So, and it was addressed here again. Community stakeholder conversations, you mentioned the BIA. Did you reach out to the BIA? Because that was something that I was actually wanting to ask, because I think it'd be important to hear from them. I have spoken to some developers, and they do have a lot of questions, very interested in getting involved, but they're concerned about would any of this, as far as the streamlining process, and we were talking about some, incentivizing some, the missing middle housing, reducing fees or incentivizing it, would it trigger prevailing wage on projects and such? So I think having those conversations would be really helpful to get all that cleaned out. And then I'm really glad that you brought up the smaller scale developer, because I was even thinking about that, and you mentioned right now, as you did in the first meeting, that they don't always have the financial ability on the front end of it. So even when we talked about, how we incentivize or reduce some of the fees, how maybe we should treat them separately, the bigger developers from the smaller developer, in order for them to be able to also participate. I'd like the integrative, supportive, and not stand out thinking, and I think that's important for a community, because again, it is a community, and people take pride in community and want to feel like they're a part of it. As far as the building codes modification, I think we're also at a perfect time right now, because we are looking at the general plan and the zoning, and if it matches, and then also I do believe I can speak for my colleagues, we have to have some flexibility because of what our needs are now. So I think that it's a really good time. I'm excited about this. I think it's really going to serve our community well. We are ready for it. People want to buy that live here. They want to buy. They want to get out of renting. And again, I always look at it as low-income, people in low-income housing are looking for this missing middle to be able to, because they don't make that income, that higher income. But if we're able to provide them, housing that they can afford to own, begin generational wealth, I think that's a great opportunity. And it'll also open up low-income housing for others that are on the waiting list. I do want to say, and maybe we could talk about this later, but I did speak to a developer in Ramona who has developed something, and they're actually building in Ramona materials and a type of housing for people right now to rent. But I'm talking about, would that be something that we could look at to see how it would fall into what our needs are here for them to build for people to own? So I'm going to take a trip up there and check out the housing, and maybe I'll take one of you guys with me. But thank you for the presentation, and as mayor and everyone else has commented, this is a really exciting time. Thank you.
Thank you, Councilmember. If I could just add, in response to your question about the Building Industry Association, no, I have not spoken to them yet. I didn't want to get ahead of the council conversation. And based on your feedback this evening, we certainly reach out to them and get their perspective and thoughts. And again, if this turns into a much larger effort, they would be one of many stakeholders, as well as the community. So, but happy to reach out to them and just start an initial conversation.
This is a conversation that I've been waiting for years and heard about and participated somewhat ever since I was elected. And in fact, when I got elected is when I heard the term, the missing middle, is when I heard that. And there's so much. And I think that if this conversation is going to be a real conversation, a deep conversation, a community conversation, we're going to have to talk about zoning changes. We're going to have to talk about, are we willing to target areas in the city, duplexes, et cetera, the impact on parking and traffic infrastructure, all those things which you've already mentioned are going to be critical for us to be part of that conversation. I do worry because I see mobile homes, which have been considered affordable housing, that are 50 years old that are selling for $300,000. Some newer ones for $450,000 that people are actually not even buying because it's too expensive. ADUs is something that we started discussing back when I was on planning, and that seemed that was going to be a huge help, and it's a help, but it's probably not as big as we thought it would be. But I'm glad that we've been putting in bits and pieces here and there to help streamline that. I think what's going to get to the point where we're going to need to talk about some modification of requirements, because we do know that around 40% or so of the cost of a home is permits and requirements and things like that. So there's a lot of work. Thank you for pointing it out, willing to take the bull by the horns and start working at it. And I think what I hear from my colleagues is that, yeah, we want to have that conversation with the stakeholders, with the community. And if it takes some while, that's okay, but that we reach something where we will be able to have that middle missing housing for those in our community. So anyway, thank you.
Thank you, Deborah.
Thank you for the presentation, Kevin. This is a deeply personal issue. I'm one of those people that's just waiting to enter the market, but I'm priced out of it. So we definitely need middle income housing. So I would say for your questions, yes, definitely have it as part of the toolbox. It should definitely be a strategy. And also, there's some properties within, even my district, so I'm happy to give a tour of some areas. I think when we first met, there's a few homes where I'm like, we don't build things like this, but I wish that we did. And I currently live in a townhome community, so it's very comfortable, and again, it just depends on your lifestyle, right, on what works. So I definitely think we should have more diversity of housing options in our city, especially because housing is so expensive. The numbers that you presented are to the 2024 numbers. I'm like, oh yeah, that's an old number, because to get into a condo, like you're talking about almost a $4,000, if not more, mortgage when you include insurance and then HOA fees, which are crazy. And then I also saw in one of the slides that you referenced graphics from Habitat for Humanity. They're a great partner that we've had at the city, and I know that they're very creative in different housing options. And there is a particular community, if we can do a tour in my district, of they're kind of in a cul-de-sac, and it's a very hidden community, but they have these beautiful row homes there. So I'd like to see more of this housing diversity stock in our community. And also, at one point, you weren't here then, but I'd like to revisit. We did a study, a housing study. Part of it was an inclusionary housing study. And I agree with you that with development, we definitely need to have the rules so they know, what our process is like. And so I do think, as to my colleagues, as we are exploring this as one of our toolbox items, that we also look into inclusionary housing and how that could become an option. One of the studies that we had done a few years ago, some of my colleagues weren't on the council yet, so I would love them to get that information as well, and for you to see that report, was they did test that. They did recommend in the report, the agency that worked on that study, that inclusionary housing would work for this type of housing, so I feel like it fits in really nicely with what we're talking about. So I'm happy to get you a copy of that if you need it. And so excited about this conversation, so needed, so timely, and I love the example you gave of Sacramento engaging their community in really robust conversations. We should be asking our residents, where do you live, and why do you love living in this particular neighborhood or community? Because I knock on doors when I run for office, and it's amazing to see all the different home types and just how people live in our city, and their gardens, and landscaping and all the creative ways that they live. So I feel like it's a great opportunity for us to engage the community and see what's working for them, that they feel safe and comfortable and that they're able to afford. So that's a very important thing. Lastly, I'll say that I'd like to get, I brought this up in the visioning workshop, some data on the missing middle program that we have. We have 5 properties in the city that we, a few years ago, helped secure a bond, and eventually we will own those properties in about 30 years, and they will be deed restricted affordable units that we have. I'd like to know kind of how that program's working, because that is a middle income project, and there is some AMI requirements tied to that. So I'd like to know, how is that successful? I haven't heard very much since that got approved, but I would love to know how that's working out, because it took some of our luxury apartments and offered them to lower AMI residents for this new state middle housing program. So those are my comments. Thank you so much for your presentation.
Thank you.
Thank you, sir. I skipped public comments. We do have one public comment for this item.
Laura Hunter.
Thank you, Laura Hunter, and I really appreciate the presentation. I'm very excited about this topic as well. I think it's really timely. I actually grew up in a neighborhood that was all single-family homes and one block of 8 apartments, and it was beautiful. I mean, it benefited the home, all the kids that lived there, all the kids that lived in the apartment. It was economic integration. It gave a diversity of experience, and it was a very, very good thing. I've been in and out of trying to advocate around housing in Escondido for, I don't know, a number of years, maybe like 13 some years, and it seems to me like where the process falls down in terms of what we want and what we end up getting is that, in a way it's easy. We have a well-founded plan, we assess the areas, we commit to some rules and some policies, but then the council has to stick to them. And so the problem that I see over and over and over is even when we have a great idea, a great plan, the developers come and they talk everybody out of it because they always want to build market rate housing, but they need your support. And you have the power and you can negotiate with them. So I've just seen the council give its leverage up over and over, and I'm not targeting any individual, but it has happened for years and years and years, and it's a huge problem. I mean, you have the policy in the EJ policy 181, promote mixed income development and inclusion of affordable housing in all neighborhoods, encourage integration of market rate housing with affordable units. To do that, if you only want to let them build market rate, you've got to have an inclusionary housing ordinance. I mean, it's got to be one or the other, and so I'm really glad you brought that up, and I hope you'll revisit that. There are some other tools you could use to accomplish this. I have a handout, I've given it to you before, I'll give it to Mr. Snyder, about, inclusionary housing, of course, incentives that can also be a source of funding for that. Land value recapture is something else that increases your leverage over the whole dialogue because they can't build anything without you. Other things to do is get creative about some of these strip malls and redevelopment on retail spaces that we could get creative around. Accept housing first money. If you accepted the housing first strategy, we'd have more money to do those things, and spend the HUD money that you have. So that whole conversation about the home funds, those are 9 years we've had that money and we haven't spent it. So it seems like we've got the wrong mix of programs if it becomes a burden to have to spend money on one of our major crises in the city. So that, I'm out of time, so that's just a few of my comments. But I'm very excited that you're pursuing this. And I'll give this to Mr. Snyder.
All right. Anything else for Kevin before he goes? No? All right. Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
Before we move on to non-agenda public comments, my colleague, Councilmember Martinez, has a certificate of recognition.
Thank you, Mayor, for letting me do this on a short notice. So I'd like to invite the son and daughter of Evelyn J. Langsing, if they could come up with me, please, and I'm glad you're here. So a couple weeks ago, I attended the celebration of life for Evelyn J. Langston, a dear friend and someone that was a regular here in our council meetings, a community leader. And so I just wanted to say a few words in her honor because she was a very special friend and resident and very involved in our city. Evelyn J. Langston, 76 of Escondido, California, passed away at home on February 27th, 26, surrounded by family. She was born on June 1st, 1949, in Frankfurt, Germany, to Joseph and Herta Brock. She graduated from Hoover High School in San Diego during her time at Hoover. She also became a Charger cheerleader, making her a lifelong Chargers and San Diego Padres #1 fan. She started selling parts at Sears, Roebuck of Escondido. Interesting to know that they sold homes back in the day. And later she retired. Later she retired as manager of customer relations in Acura Escondido. So she was an Escondido woman through and through. She was known for giving back to her community and helping seniors and being involved in different efforts and serving most recently as the president of the Impact Club. So really mobilizing and giving a voice of advocacy for mobile home park residents. So a lot of times she would come here and talk to us and advocate for rental protections and empowering the residents of mobile home parks. So I'm just so grateful, and I wanted to present this certificate of recognition and remembrance to your beautiful mother. She was a beloved friend, community leader, and dedicated advocate for Escondido senior residents, and was known for her deep love of community, her generous spirits, and years of service, including leadership on the mobile home board for Impact. She gave so much of herself in service to others and leaves behind a legacy of care, strength, and civic commitment. On behalf of the city of Escondido, we extend our deepest condolences to her family and friends, and tonight we present the certificate of remembrance to her children in honor of her life and service. Thank you so much, Mayor and colleagues, for allowing me to present this.
Yeah, thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Thank you so much.
Yes, let's get a picture.
That's a good one.
Thank you.
Thank you, guys.
All right, thank you so much. Thank you.
All right, we'll move on to non-agenda public comment when our clerk comes back.
Mayor Dan White, this letter doesn't really build trust in the community. Good evening. Dear Dan White, you're a Republican mayor. As a Latina, as a resident of Escondido, and someone that cares deeply about my community, I don't think you understand the threat Latinos are facing right now. The denial of due process, racial profiling, civil rights violation, state-sanctioned violence. Your fundraising letter completely disregards the truth. You're a liar. You chose not to cancel the shooting range contract with the Department of Homeland Security, with the MIGRA. You chose this rogue federal agency to roam freely in our city, kidnapping immigrants. You chose supporting this mass prison, these mass detention centers where people are dying every day because of the inhumane treatment. You are okay with accepting money that comes with blood in their hands, the blood of U.S. citizens and immigrants alike. By not canceling this contract, you are enabling those threats to continue. Mayor White, the Latinos are watching. They're paying attention. Words matter. What you write matter. You have no courage to stand up against the Trump administration, but there will be an end on this chapter. You definitely are going to be on the wrong side of history. We won't forget, and that goes for the rest of you and you and you.
All right, consent calendar. Items. Oh, just kidding.
Thank you so much. My name is Marisela, and I've been living here in Escondido. My name is Marisela, and I've been living here in Escondido like for 25 years already. And one of my questions is, I already went to the police office to ask about this like few years ago, like 8 years ago I went, I don't know. But my question was, in my area is the Flowers area over by Midway. There's the sweeping truck that goes every week sweeping the streets. And I want to know what the city do or who gets that money, because it's been many, many years, every week, and they get a lot of money from tickets for people who forget to move their cars. And I want to know who gets that money and what they do in Escondido with that money. I want to know what's going on with that money. And I went to the police station one time, and they told me to come here and ask, because here is where somebody is going to tell me something about it. I don't know. But I want to know what they do with that money in Escondido. I haven't heard anything new, anything great, nothing from all the money they gather every week for the people who forget to take out the cars. And I want to know what they do with that money. And also, a lot of people is wondering about these airplanes, about this cloud seeding in the skies. You know, there's a lot of airplanes going with, leaving a lot of, I don't know, white stella. And a lot of people say this is chemical that comes down to us and to the crops and the trees and animals and everything. So people is wondering what's happening. So this is my two questions, and I don't.
We can't answer you right here, right now, but if you leave your contact information with the clerk, the cloud seeding one we can't answer. We don't have any control over that one, but the tickets and where that money is going, we can have a member of our staff reach out to you.
Do you think you can have a day where we can know what's going on with this cloud seeding,
And Maricela, I can give you the contact information for the Air Pollution Control District, so
Thank
I'll
you
be
so
able to
much.
get you in touch with them.
Thank you.
No problem at all. Yeah, perfect.
Okay, consent calendar is items 2 through 5 and 8. Items 6 and 7 have been pulled. Do I have a motion to approve 2 through 5 and item 8?
I'll motion to approve.
I'll second it. Do you need voice votes?
Gonna do, yeah. All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? None. Motion approved, 5-0.
Okay, that takes us to item 6, which is the authorization request for a general plan amendment.
Is this on? Oh, there we go. Sorry. Good evening, Mayor and Deputy Mayor and Council members. Ivan Flores, Principal Planner with the Planning Services. Now I'll be presenting on item 6 this evening. Here's a brief agenda outlining the items we're going to discuss this evening, starting with the background and concluding with staff's recommendation for this request. On February 10th, 2026, Matthew Escoville, representing Warminton Residential, submitted a request to amend the city's existing general plan to alter the existing land use designation for this site. This property is located at the northeast corner of Miller Avenue and Citricado Avenue, shown here on the aerial image. As discussed in the staff report, state law limits how many times a local agency may amend a mandatory element of its general plan. The property is primarily surrounded by single-family residences to the north and the east, low-intensity office buildings to the south, and some underdeveloped parcels to the west. On the screen, you see the existing general plan land use designation, which is planned office. Specifically, it's within the Felicita corporate office target area. When the city adopted its general plan in 2012, we had initially identified this area as a opportunity area for to increase employment densities, to attract businesses that will raise the city's median income. The applicant, Warmington Residential, has proposed a general plan amendment to amend the land use designation from this site from planned office to urban 3. If City Council authorizes this request, this would permit the applicant to submit a formal application, entitlement application, which could include a tentative subdivision map, a zone map amendment, major plot plan, and design review permit. All of this to facilitate the construction of 126 multifamily units constructed as townhomes. Pursuant to the California Environmental Quality Act, this request is exempt from further environmental review under Section 15262, which applies to feasibility and planning studies, in that the application would undergo further environmental review upon formal submittal of a development application. Based on this presentation, the action before the council this evening would be to, as recommended, would be to authorize further processing of a general plan amendment to amend the existing land use designation. That concludes staff's presentation, and we're available for any questions. Thank you.
Perfect. Before questions, we're going to go to public comment.
Laura Hunter.
Yes, thank you, Laura Hunter, Escondido. So I asked that this be pulled because it looks like there's getting a lot of general plan amendments coming forward. And it's been a longstanding concern that do we have a plan and do we follow it, or are we building a city on a developer-driven basis? So that someone applies for a general plan amendment in February, all of a sudden we're here. This is kind of a big change from office to housing, so I wondered if, the people were, how the public was reached out to, especially the folks that live right around there. So I've sent you an email about it. Just wanted to ask that you consider the following before you would authorize this, that you should canvass or survey the neighboring homes and businesses and get their feedback. Affordable housing, you should say it has to be included, and you should say it from the get-go, because what happens is once they take one step, then, well, woe is us, we have so much money in, we can't change things now, it'll never pencil out. Again, it's that you have to set the intention and the expectation. You're the folks in power, you're the ones that can make affordable housing happen there. If you're going to do housing, you can make middle housing happen there. But you have to set the intention. We hope if you were to do it, that there'd be for sale home options included in the, exactly on the middle income. I wrote this before we even had that presentation. You need to watch housing within 500 feet of a freeway, as we know from the Air Resources Board and the CARB land use planning guidance, which I'll bring up in number 7, even more, that the people should not be living within 500 feet of a freeway. It's very unhealthy. And we should safeguard, if we're deciding we're going to do middle housing, we're deciding we're going to have workforce housing, then you've got to make sure that the conditions are in place so we don't have another scenario like Oak Creek. Those were supposed to be workforce housing level, and now they're all over $1 million, $1.5 million. And again, use this opportunity to talk about inclusionary housing, get on the path to doing that policy. That is the way, if you're going to continue to only let them do market rate, it's the only way we're going to be able to actually build out those lower income levels of housing, as far as I can see. Thank you.
My only question, and this is just more so for the public, and the same question applies to the next item too. We're not being asked to approve the development, but rather the general plan amendment and the application, basically.
That is correct. At this time, you're simply authorizing us to process further the general plan amendment and any other discretionary applications.
Perfect. Thank you.
Can you give directions? I guess
The public comments closed, Laura. Sorry. Yeah.
Any other comments or questions from the council?
And just for clarification, because we have a limit of 4 general plan amendments per year, is there any kind of Is it just as developers approach us with general plan amendments, or is there a criteria, a threshold that they have to meet before it gets to our consent calendars for general plan amendments? Is it just anyone can request it that wants to propose a project, or do we have a minimum threshold that they have to meet in order to get on our consent calendar?
A minimum threshold in terms of like a numerical threshold, or just criteria?
Any kind of, criteria or threshold that they must meet before even considering issuing a general plan amendment. What's the process prior to getting on our consent agenda?
Yeah, so typically what will happen is a developer will approach the city staff about potentially doing a general plan amendment. We'll meet with them and have very preliminary discussions. There is a general plan policy, I believe it's 17.2 in our land use element, that talks about how an applicant needs to provide substantiation as to how the existing general plan land use designation is inappropriate from an economic, physical, or social standpoint. At that point, they will submit an initiation request, and the Escondido zoning code requires that we bring that to the council for further processing.
Okay, got it. And then I'm looking at the map here, and I know this is not, we still have a ways to go before we can approve a project. So even if we were to say, okay, explore the option of processing the application, that's really what this request is for. There's a way along the way to ask more questions and get more clarity. Do you know at this time if there's any kind, any other details of from the applicant on this? Like, do they have other properties in the city, or will this be the first project for them in their city?
I believe Warmington Residential, and I made it defer to the applicant, but they did construct one project off of South Center City Parkway.
Okay, got it. And are they here by chance?
They are.
Oh, can I talk to them? Yeah, I would love to talk to them. Hi there. Since you're here, why not?
Good evening.
Hi.
My name is Matthew Esquivel.
Hi,
I'm with Warmington Residential.
Great, thank you. Thank you. If you could just tell me a little bit, just because the public pulled this item.
Sure.
This item was pulled by the public, so I want to just ask some questions. If you could just tell me a little bit about your project and why you feel, it merits a general plan amendment, and maybe a little bit
Absolutely, yeah.
about your history in our city.
Absolutely. Thank you for allowing us to be here. This is our second project, under me, in the city of Escondido. Our first one was, we just spoke about, was very successful, and we're back again to do this one. With regards to this location in particular, we felt that it was fairly suitable based on the surrounding area being all residential and not having commercial other than further down. It's kind of landlocked to where it's all residential in that area. It made sense. There was a previous application submitted for this site, I believe, before that was residential also. I don't know too much about the history of it, but it has history in that background. So under that circumstances and, taking a look at it, we thought it was a good opportunity for us to bring something to the table. And we looked at it and met with staff and decided, okay, we'll make an application and submit.
Thank you. All right. And can you remind me of the name of the project that you did, the other project?
Yes, it is a Boulevard Park, and it is on, oh my goodness. I'm going to say.
That's okay.
No, the street is, oh my goodness.
Probably Boulevard, something Boulevard?
No, it's escaping my mind because I'm nervous standing in front of you right now.
That's okay. Oh. Is it similar to kind of this project?
Yeah, very similar in feel. I think that one was a little bit smaller in size, but it was an infill as well.
Got it.
I can send you that information.
That would be
problem.
great.
Yeah.
Thank you. And then anything you want to add, Ivan, that he spoke to?
Not at this time.
Okay. Got it. Thank you. All right. Well, thank you for the information. Thanks for being here. And I know it's kind of nerve-wracking coming and speaking on the microphone. So I appreciate you being here and being able to answer some questions.
And I'll be able to provide Ivan with that information like in 5 minutes.
Okay. Yeah. Thank you. Okay. That's it. Thank you.
I have a couple of questions. So I'm looking. I know a lot of developers were looking at this, and it looks like this project is taking the whole of the area that a lot of developers were just looking at pockets. which I think, we were talking about earlier when we were talking about the missing middle housing and how we could place it in and make sure that it's cohesive with the rest of the area. I think it's good to have the cohesiveness in there if it's going to be a certain building type or housing construction type. Also, one thing, because I have spoken to the residents in that area, that is in my district, they too see the need for housing. And one thing that the majority expressed was that they had great concerns of an apartment complex, high-end, expensive apartment complex coming in off of Brotherton and Juniper. They were very concerned about that, but they welcomed housing for sale. So I think this is really good. I like the size of it because I think it's going to give the feeling of community, and I know it's going to kind of blend into what's already existing there. I'm hoping. I'm not sure. I haven't seen any designs, and I don't believe I've ever spoken to you before, sir. So I'd be interested in seeing that. But also I wanted to point out, the zoning as it is now, it talks about office space and such. There's just not a high market for office space, for people wanting to build office spaces. We have a lot of vacant office spaces now. So even speaking with other cities, it's just not something that is high on the development list. Is that something that we've come across here as a city too? Ivan, do you know?
Within the past several years, we have received general plan amendments for areas that have been identified for office, with that being the primary reason that office is just not being developed.
Yeah,
Okay,
offices are not, we are not getting requests to develop office.
And so with that, I think that as a city, again, we have to be able to see what the needs are, the housing needs are, and then also the space that we do have, and being able to change the zoning to be able to provide what our community needs are. So I'm for moving the processing forward, and thank you for this presentation.
So as we, before us, explore the option, just a quick comment. I think that as this is moving forward, we're going to be converting employment land to housing. So I think that we need to have a clear long-term economic and community trade-off to see where we're at. So as it moves forward, that's one of the expectations that I would like to see before us. Thank you.
Councilwoman, did you want to make a motion?
Yes, I would like to motion to approve, having staff move forward with further processing of this project.
I'll second it.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? None. Motion approved 5-0.
All right, thank you. I guess you're with us again for item 7. Go ahead.
Ivan Flores again, Principal Planner with Planning Services, and I'll be presenting on item 7 this evening. Here's a brief overview of what we'll be discussing as it pertains to this project. We'll start with the background and then end with staff's recommended action. On February 9th, 2026, Storm Properties submitted a general plan amendment to amend the city's adopted general plan land use map. This property is located on the west side of Myers Avenue, adjacent to the city of San Marcos, which you see here to the west. This property is primarily surrounded by light industrial uses to the north, south, and east, as you can see here on this aerial image. As I stated on the last presentation, there are limitations on how many times we can amend a mandatory element of the general plan. Here we see the existing land use, which is light industrial. This land use is intended to support light manufacturing, warehousing, and distribution. This land use designation tends to be more restrictive than general industrial. The applicant is proposing to amend the land use from light industrial to urban 4, which permits up to 24 dwelling units per acre. At this time, the applicant is proposing to construct up to 82 multifamily townhome units, also for ownership. This specific request is exempt from the California Environmental Quality Act under Section 15262, which applies to feasibility and planning studies. And that at this time, we are simply asking for authorization to further process the general plan amendment. Staff's recommended action this evening is to approve resolution number 2026-56, authorizing further processing of the general plan amendment. That'll conclude staff's presentation, and the applicant is also available for questions. Thank you.
Laura Hunter.
Laura Hunter again, and on this one, I'm asking you to please reject this application at this point. This is not a safe place for housing. It's surrounded on 3 sides by light industrial, and on that map that's in the packet, if you go on MapQuest and you zoom out, you see that there's a Chrome Platers just outside of that line. There's welding gas business. There's manufacturing right next to it. I don't know what they make. I don't know what the emissions are, but the point is, chrome plating and welding gases were exactly the major health drivers in Barrio Logan. And I worked for Environmental Health Coalition for 30 years, and we spent decades trying to undo that very unhealthful mix of housing, sensitive receptors, children, people, elderly, people living in homes next to those kinds of emissions. You would be in violation of your own environmental justice policy. And it's really, just because it's undevelopable for them, for light industry, that doesn't mean we put people in harm's way. This is a very bad location. Please do not create an environmental justice here, injustice here. We had a presentation from the Air District and co-location of toxic emitters, industrial emitters, hazardous waste, storage, and emissions next to people. In 2026, we should be far beyond that. So please don't go down this road. This is not an appropriate place. And you would have to have restrictions on your one business area that's actually probably doing a lot of business, because you wouldn't be able to, you'd have to restrict businesses within that area. It's not a safe place for it. I hope you will reject it at this point.
No further public comment.
Okay, I'll turn it over to my colleagues first. Go ahead.
Thank you. Can I please have the applicant come forward for this project? Hi. Hi, how are you?
Good. How are you?
Good, thank you. Just a couple, there's some concerns about the location of this. Is there any residential in this area, and if so, where? And if you do have any other projects in the city?
Yes. Okay. So Mayor White, Deputy Mayor Garcia, and City Council people, thank you so much for giving us the time and giving the opportunity to answer your questions. So yes, so in this project, on the west side, it's in San Marcos. On the other side, there's a mobile home park that's been there, I think, about for 50 plus years. There's another large residential development that was built by Lennar that was approved by the city of San Marcos that's been there. And actually, the access for that project is through our parcel. They have an easement. So there's already residential traffic on Myers Street that's been going there for last 3-4 years since the Lennar project has been built. And on the other side, we have the mobile home park. And I think, like we highlighted, the biggest challenge on this site, it has been tried 3 times to be developed as industrial parcel. There's about 40 feet grade difference between the back of the project and the front of the project. And as you know, there's a lot of hard rock in this neighborhood. So all that rock needs to be blasted. So there was actually a project that came to the council a few years ago. And when they've tried to get it pricing out, it's just not viable. And all the blasting that needs to be done has an impact on the residential development next to it. So there has not been any success on this parcel, just because the only product that's viable with the existing rocking condition is something that can be graded down to the street. And that's kind of the reason for the residential project that we are proposing. So residences have been living over there. As far as air quality is concerned, again, like Ivan said, this is just the start of the process. We will do a CEQA, we will do an air quality analysis, we will review all of the environmental requirements and make sure it's a safe area. Like I said, residents have been living in that neighborhood right next to our parcel for 50-plus years, and then the new residential project for 3-4 years over there.
Okay, thank you. That's very helpful to know. I appreciate you walking me through that.
Sure.
And that history of like why it's been challenging to have the use that it's zoned for,
Right.
not be attainable. Any insight on, maybe this happens later in the process, any insight, Ivan, on like CalScreen, EnviroScreen, SCORE, how this like ties into our environmental justice element within the housing, element? Have you all done any kind of like connection between those documents and this at this stage?
Not at this stage.
Okay,
no.
but that happens later?
That will happen as a part of the formal entitlement processing.
Mm-hmm. Okay, that makes sense. Yeah, this is a tough one because I am very sensitive to. I hear what you're saying, but I am very sensitive to the fact of housing being in this area. And I know we're not approving a project, so I know it's very early on, but I'm still struggling a bit with this one. Did you want to comment?
So I would ask the Director of Development Services to explain where we are at in the process so that it's clear to council and the community that this is a first step in a conversation, not an analysis. This is the first step in processing this, and there are many steps beyond this where where a lot of the questions that are surfacing right now are intended to be answered.
Thank you. Hello again.
Hello again. Thank you, City Manager, Mayor, Deputy Mayor, and Council members. Kevin Snyder, Director of Development Services. As Principal Planner Flores mentioned, the only action being requested this evening is to authorize the General Plan Amendment to move forward. In order for this project to be approvable, there will be a substantial number of studies that will need to be done to address compliance of a variety of environmental issues, air quality being one, also noise, traffic, and other considerations as required under CEQA. So this is an initial opportunity for the council to decide if you want this to move forward. You will get the opportunity to look at this again. Your Planning Commission will get the opportunity to look at this again, and the public will get the opportunity to look at this again. This is simply a request to start the process, no more. And I'd be happy to answer any questions.
So I also want to, that's why there's some unknowns to this conversation, right? The analysis that you're asking for has not taken place at this point.
That is correct. The analysis has not taken place. The exemption that Mr. Flores mentioned is only for the request this evening. It is does not exempt the project from future environmental review, and it does not exempt the project from considerations of mitigation or other factors that may influence both the nature and scale of the development. And again, you as council, the community, and Planning Commission will be involved in those conversations, reviewing that information and any future decision making.
And that's why this has typically ended up on the consent agenda as a matter of course, because all of these questions follow the initiation of the project. And so this is the way it initiates. That doesn't mean you cannot deny this initiation, but I'm a little concerned that some questions are being asked when those analyses have not taken place yet. That's what I want to make it clear. Those come with the process.
Okay. Thank you. And then thank you so much. I appreciate you being here and answering my questions and providing that history. And then so far this year, remind me if this is our second request, how many we've had this year? I know it depends on the time and we still have a far ways to go, but.
In terms of initiation requests, this is our second one.
Okay,
yes.
that's what I thought. Thank you.
I'd like to comment. I'm actually glad to hear that we are going to be looking at the air analysis, air quality, because as one of the public commenter came up and pointed out some of the things that are happening down in South Bay, San Isidro, and I sit on the San Diego Air Pollution Control District, and some health issues with the emissions are real, so anyway, that would be a concern of mine. And so I'm glad to hear that those studies are going to be done. So I'm pro-housing. I think if it is done the way, as you're driving down the 78 and you're seeing how it's being built out, I think it would be a good fit there. So I would motion to approve moving forward with this. However, I am anxious about getting the results on the air quality and so forth. Thank you.
There's a motion. Is there a second? Motion and second. Okay. Do you have anything, Deputy Mayor? Okay. Looking at this from an aerial view, I'm looking at everything to the west is residential. Everything to the east is all industrial, and the road that this parcel sits in is industrial, and it's two sides. So I'm actually struggling with this one a little bit, and just looking at how built out it is over there. You know, I'm definitely not opposed to housing, but I am struggling with this one a little bit. So anyways, I just want to throw that out there. There's been a motion and second. If there's nothing else, please call for the vote.
Yeah. All those in favor? So I count 3. All those opposed?
Aye.
Okay. So motion approved, 3-2. White,
Nay.
Martinez,
Yeah.
nay.
Thank you.
It's totally fine. Yeah, thank you.
Okay, we are going to take a 5-minute break. All right, we're going to reconvene this meeting and move on to our current business. Item 10, which is the current fiscal year capital improvement program status briefing. And I did want to note, I think this is a record for the most time spent before we got to current business. You're good to go.
Thank you, Mayor.
Let's rock and roll.
Good evening, Mayor, Deputy Mayor, and members of City Council. Tonight, I have the honor of introducing a member of our team who's doing their first presentation to City Council. Who I'm going to introduce to you is right behind me, Jason Chrisman. So Jason has been with the city for about 4.5 years. He joined us as a principal engineer, then moved on to our land development manager, our capital improvement program manager, and right now is serving as the interim city engineer. Prior to making the wise choice to come to the city of Escondido, he worked for the city of Vista for about 18 years. Jason is a valued member of our team. He brings amazing experience, thoughtfulness, consideration, and kindness to all the work that he does. Some fun facts about Jason. So Jason grew up in a household of 4 boys. He has a fraternal twin, so I actually thought it was an identical twin, and I was going to put a challenge in front of you to try to figure out the next time you see him if he's him or his brother, but it's fraternal. But Jason has the distinction, probably of anyone in this room right now, of having actually paved a runway at the Denver International Airport. I'm not sure anyone else has done that before. But even more important to Jason, he is now an avowed Swiftie. Last year, he attended his first Taylor Swift concert with his 2 daughters, and he is now an avowed Swiftie, and these are his words, not mine. It was one of the top 5 concerts in his life. So welcome to Jason. I think you're going to enjoy speaking with him this evening, and I'm now going to turn it over to the Deputy Mayor for another introduction.
Hi. Hello again, Chris McKinney, Deputy City Manager. So I don't think Danny is a Swiftie, so I don't know if I can compare to that. But, so I'm here to introduce another new staff member who is presenting to you for the first time. Daniel Peterson is our new Utilities Director. He has a 15-year career in the water industry, and he came to us in January from the Santa Margarita Municipal Water District in Orange County, where he served as their regulatory and logistics manager. His fun fact, is this a 15-year consecutive run? Okay, he has a 15-year consecutive run of attending spring training, baseball spring training in Arizona. Padres? Okay, yeah, good answer, good answer. And so we're very pleased to have Danny here leading our utilities department. I don't want to leave Ed out. You all know Ed, Ed Vasquez. He's presented to you several times. But in learning more about these guys as they prepare these presentations and work with me, I learned recently that Ed is, before he began his career in public service in Escondido, he was a veteran of the United States Marine Corps. And so I just wanted to mention that. That is, I don't know if that's a fun fact, but it's certainly a service fact, a service to our nation. So I wanted to mention that. So thanks to you all, and I'll now turn it over to Jason.
Good evening, council members, Deputy Mayor Garcia, and Mayor White. My name is Jason Christman. I'm currently serving as the interim city engineer. I am excited to be here tonight to share our collective progress on a large number of capital improvement projects for fiscal year 25-26. There is no recommendation or approval being sought tonight. I am here representing the Engineering Services Department to share our accomplishments. For my agenda tonight and my colleagues as well, I'll start off with an overview of our capital improvement plan. I then will be talking about programs and projects that are delivered through our capital improvement plan. I'm going to talk about a few street and safety improvements. Then I'm going to move on to some park improvements. At that point, I'll turn the presentation over to Daniel, where he's going to be speaking of a couple of the utility projects we've been working on. And then Ed Vasquez is going to come up and talk about the Climate Tech Energy Roadmap and give some updates on projects that the Public Works Department is working on. I'll then conclude our presentation with some upcoming public engagement opportunities. We have a CIP dashboard where a lot of this information is housed, and many of the projects that we speak about tonight are on this dashboard. It's a interactive map where our community can go on our website, move to a particular area of the city and see some icons where specific projects could be popping up. There's also a way to search for a specific project on this dashboard if you know either the location or perhaps the name of the project. I wanted to start just talking a little bit about all of these words that start with the letter P. We have the capital improvement plan, we have capital improvement programs, and capital improvement projects. This slide is intended just to be a visual slide that shows the relationship between our overall capital improvement plan and how it consists of both programs and projects. And to dive into the program versus project discussion a little bit, I wanted to talk about programs specifically and do a little word association. When I think of a program, the word that I think of is yearly. And so these are programs that are done every year. We have programs like our annual storm drain maintenance rehab program and our annual CATS program. As far as projects, the word that I like to associate with that is individual, which can translate into a one-time construction activity. And those are, some examples of those are our traffic signal at Washington and Rose, and then our Citricado Parkway Extension project. So what is a capital improvement project? These are city-led projects that utilize public funding to design, bid, and construct the improvement that is desired. These typically address a community-identified safety or quality of life need, and they could be completed by either the Engineering Services Division, Public Works, or the utility team. This is really essentially the stuff that we build. We could be improving or adding an amenity to a park. We could be rehabilitating a roadway surface. And so all of those fall under this category of a capital improvement project. I also wanted to just briefly explain the different types of models that we can use to deliver a capital improvement project to the community. The first model, and this is one that we use most of the time, is called the design, bid, and build model, where sorry, I just wanted to catch up to my notes here. Where the first step is the design process. The city hires an engineer or architect firm to design the project. It is then, the second step is the project gets bid based on the plans and specifications that the designer has come up with. And then the third step of this process is to go out and build the project, which includes managing the construction and the progress of the work. A secondary model that we don't use as often is the design-build model, whereby this process entails a first step where the bidding of the project is usually done with a concept plan and specific identified goals. And this is typically done to one overall design-build contractor. The second step in this process would be to completing the design, which is a collaborative effort with the City of Escondido staff. And then the third step in this process would be to go and build the improvements. Currently, the Engineering Services Department is working on 23 different projects with an approximate cost of $18 million. Some of the projects that we've been working on are street and safety projects. The first one I'd like to mention is the Washington and Rose traffic signal project. In this project, we added protected left turns in each direction for vehicles entering the intersection. We reconstructed pedestrian ramps, and we created some enhanced crosswalks, as you can see from the picture on the right. This project was completed in February 2026. The next slide talks about one of our programs. And so this is our annual street pavement rehab and maintenance program. This project is approximately 95% complete. The primary goals of this project were to remove and replace cracked and failing asphalt pavement on these roads indicated here, improve sidewalks and pedestrian ramps. In addition, this project received $2 million in Measure I funds, which we utilized to really take us to the next level of street repairs and provide some additional benefit to the community. This slide is dedicated to our award-winning Grand Avenue Phase 2 project. We received 2 awards from the Institute of Transportation Engineers San Diego chapter, including Project of the Year and the Complete Streets Award. In addition to this local award, this project received a national award from the American Council of Engineering Companies for engineering excellence. Our Escondido Creek Trail project is one of our parks projects. This project is continuing work on our shade structures, lighting, new disintegrated granite trails, pavement and striping, workout equipment, water bottle filling stations, play equipment, fencing, and landscaping. We are estimating a completion date for this project of July 2026. Another project that we're working on currently that's in the construction phase is the splash pad at Grove Park. Construction on this project began a couple weeks ago. Contractors currently working on undergrounding all of the utility lines, and this project has a completion date of August 2026. The next project I'd like to highlight is our pickleball courts at Mountain View Park. Construction on this project began about a month ago. The preliminary grading is complete, and we have a completion date scheduled for June 2026 on this project. I can picture our pickleball community filling up these courts right now. Another one of our parks projects is our skate spot at Westside Park project. This project is currently in the bid phase. We are anticipating to receive bids from the contracting community on April 21st. We will be reviewing those bids, determining the lowest responsible bidder, and this project has a completion date of November 2026. A final parks project that we've been working towards is the John Masson Bike Park at Jesmond Dean Park. This project is in the design phase currently. The engineering staff is looking at the final plans and specifications this week. We have a goal of getting this project out to bid the week of April 20th, and then it has a completion date of March 2027. This next slide is a reference to all of the other engineering services projects and programs that we're working on. We have the CAT Safe to School program that's in the design stage with a completion date of winter 2026. The Grape Day Park Restrooms project, also in design, anticipated summer of 2027. South Escondido Access Improvement projects in design. We have a mid-year completion date anticipated for that. Our next pavement maintenance and rehab program project is in design with a completion date of winter 2027. Midway drainage, design phase as well, completion date of spring 2029. We have our Grand Vision Phase 3 project that's in design with a anticipated completion of May 2027. Windsor Gardens fencing project is also currently in the bid award stage, hoping to finish that in July 2026. Juniper Lighting project in the construction phase with a completion date of May 2026. 9th Avenue retaining wall, construction phase June 2026. Storm drain rehab phase 4 program. So this is an annual event in construction with an anticipated date of August 2026. The California Clean Monument project, also in construction, fall of 2026. We have our traffic signal communication implementation project that's currently in construction with the January 2027. And then lastly, we have our Citricado landscape maintenance project. It's in construction, and that has a 5-year period associated with it. So that, those are all the engineering services projects that I wanted to talk about this evening. I'd like to now turn it over to my colleague Daniel Peterson to talk about some of the utility projects that are happening.
Thank you, Jason. My name is Daniel Peterson. Good evening. Thank you for having me, Council. I'm excited to be here. As I onboarded in January, one of the first things that I tackled was where our utilities capital improvement plan is. And I have to say I was pleasantly surprised. A successful capital improvement plan has a mix of short-term horizon projects and long-term horizon projects. And what that allows us to do is it gives each project the opportunity to get the appropriate level of focus and, more importantly, intentionally sequence it. What that allows us to do is to prevent costly reactive decisions and make proactive decisions that limit impacts to ratepayers as well as limit impacts to the people who enjoy our city. So what I'd like to do is address a few of the projects that I wanted to highlight on the short-term horizon as well as touch on the long-term horizon. I think it's really important to look at it as a portfolio because that's what really separates a simple list of projects into a mature capital improvement program. First item I wanted to touch on is actually at our Lindley Reservoir. This is a drinking water site. There was some substantial capital improvements done a few years ago. One of the things that we've identified is some nuisance vandalism of adolescents coming on site, but causing issues. Realistically, this project is aimed to prevent that issue from occurring, as well as, at the end of the day, this is a drinking water site and the security needs to be of the utmost importance. So this project, we're at the current stage of soliciting the bids. We have materials, we have the initial design. We're anticipating this one will be completed this summer. Similar to what I imagine a lot of residents have had to deal with are the impacts of the public safety power shutoffs of the energy utility. Obviously, it can cause a great inconvenience to our residents, but what it can also lead to impacts on is our drinking water system, which requires to be a pressurized distribution system. So as you can imagine, if we lose power for a good amount of time, it could potentially cause a water quality concern. So one of the measures the utilities group has been doing is hardening a lot of these sites. What I want to identify on this project, the idea of installing a generator seems very simple. However, there's more than a year of permitting involved in this with the Air Quality District to ensure that all standards are met and that we can install a generator that fits our needs. What I wanted to highlight on this one is not all projects have a short time frame or a defined time frame. This is one of those where sometimes there's some logistical hurdles on the back end. This item we're planning on wrapping up around spring 2027. There's a little bit of electrical work that's going to happen in order for us to meet that deadline. Moving on to the wastewater side, this was a project that's near and dear to my heart. The digester is really the gut, the stomach of our wastewater biological process. By keeping these maintained to the highest level, not only does it protect the reliability of the wastewater plant, but also the efficiency. By cleaning these out and bringing them back up to standards, we actually are working on the analysis right now, but showing the less loads that we have to haul out of the treatment plant. So as I've gotten acclimated to the city and the utilities department, I'm addressing these so we can actually show the cost benefit of some of these projects a little bit better. We're in the process of finalizing our specifications in the utilities department. We expect to go out to bid in the coming months. At our Kit Carson Park, this was a pleasant surprise because I enjoyed this park with my kids, and the next day I was actually in a meeting talking about improvements to said park. So I knew that there were ducks. I had not realized the infrastructure improvements that needed to be made there. This project, there's, in the picture on the top right, you can see there's kind of been some erosion underneath a pedestrian bridge that also holds some recycled water transmission lines. This is a project where we already have 100% design. However, since this is in a waterway, we're expecting several years of permitting before we're allowed to proceed on this. And what I wanted to use this as an opportunity for is the city of Escondido has done its due diligence in preparing on here, but sometimes some of these projects require larger regional workforce, not workforce, but working with neighboring agencies, working with federal and state governments as well. So this is a good project that kind of shows, while the issue is in our city boundary, it does require working in a much larger boundary to get these projects across the finish line. And I touched on the portfolio of projects. This is a good example of some of the medium to longer term projects that we have on our utility side. There's two key projects I wanted to touch on, which really do highlight my message of short and long-term horizons. One of them is the brine pump station. This is a project where we know there's a need. We have not yet designed it. Our focus right now is funding and feasibility. So rather than coming up with a full design and then figuring out a funding mechanism, what we're doing right now is we're working with regional agencies and trying to utilize the regional strength of our recycled water network to seek some additional funding, which will then help us design this pump station to best utilize that funding. Secondarily, the treated water interconnect on the bottom is a great example of a project where capital projects and utilities don't often line up on a July to June timeframe. This is a project that is on a decade timeframe. There's a San Diego County Water Authority project in 2030 that is going to shut off our main feeder for our water. And so ahead of that, we've been working with San Diego County to find a way to interconnect and ensure that there's no interruption to our residents. So on these slides, I'd be happy to answer any questions if you might have them, but I really wanted to touch on those two, which really show the range of some of these smaller scale projects where we're able to accomplish them in-house, find a need, find a solution, and implement, versus some of these which are longer term projects that we're working on as well. So I got the pleasure of talking about some of the traditional capital projects of reservoirs and pump stations. I'll be turning it over to my colleague who has the joy of explaining how we're making sure that we're operating these systems as efficiently as possible.
Good evening, Council, Mayor, staff. My name is Ed Vasquez, Project Manager working on the Public Works. I'm going to briefly talk a high-level overview of current projects going on. We're starting off with the Citywide Energy Roadmap project, also known as Climate Tech, which you might hear throughout the city. Climate Tech is our contractor tasked with the project, which we're closely working with at this time. The project involves the replacement of aging HVAC systems, backup generators, transformers, installation of new solar panels, EV charging stations, interior and exterior facility lighting upgrades, sport field lighting upgrades, roof coatings, water and wastewater infrastructure improvements, just to name a few items that are associated with that project. Current project status. To date, roof coating has been completed at 2 buildings. Facility lighting replacement is in progress. Lighting at EVCC is complete. Work at Fire Station number 1 is underway. Roof coating at Don Anderson Building is complete, and the roof coating at CCAE is also in progress. The project requires the issuance of 20+ permits. 2 permits have been issued to date. 7 permits are in plan check. There's 10 permits are pending submittal to the building department. Noticeable impacts around the city that you'll see while this project is underway. Expect to see contractor personnel working around the city, always accompanied by a city employee. City facilities inside of and outside of the office. Construction impacts at various city parking lots for solar installation, which will be starting at the library in May. Staff are coordinating with various departments, including police, fire, water, city hall, public works and utilities for access and notifications. When possible, any lighting or any work is going to be performed after hours in offices where you'll see the most personnel. So we are coordinating with having the contractor work after hours to minimize the impact to the serving staff that is currently working during the day. Climate Tech project also touches utilities on Daniel's part of the house with water and wastewater. As you can see here, treatment facility efficiency. The project proposes to help or upgrade and provide treatment facility efficiency and control upgrades to reduce energy use, wastewater site aeration and process improvements to lower power demand and stabilize operations. Next slide, these are some Measure I projects currently being worked on. I can go down the list very quickly. CCNE stage lifts are in bid and award stage. CCAE kitchen sewer replacement is also bid and award stage. Police and fire elevator repairs are also bid and award. Second Avenue and Third Avenue channel fencing is also in the process of being awarded to start construction. And PAC and HARF roof projects are also in the bid stages and award. Again, these projects are being funded by Measure I. We're trying to move pretty fast with these projects, but they are in process and looking very good. At this time, I'll pass it back over to Jason.
Conclude our presentation with some upcoming events. We have these listed here. These are opportunities for community engagement, including May 16th, May 20th, June 17th. And wanted to just put this slide up here as well to stay engaged, yourescondido.com. And we are all here to answer any questions. Thank you.
Are there any public comments?
None.
Okay, thank you for the presentation. I don't really have any questions. There's some less exciting stuff on that list, and then there's some really exciting stuff like the library renovations, the splash pad, the creek trail, the bike pump track, pickleball courts, skate park, restrooms in Grape Day Park, more Grand Avenue work. There's a lot of good stuff happening throughout the city. So that's all I have to say. Thank you.
A lot, and it's a lot of great stuff. And I'll just say ditto to everything. So thank you.
Thank you for the presentation. I think you all did a very thorough job, and I've known about these projects, so it's nice to see the dates and upcoming events. So just thank you on a very thorough job. I really don't have any questions. You've shared a lot of information, and I appreciate it. So I'll be sure to share the upcoming events with the community.
All right, thank you.
Thank you.
Next item is the Library Board of Trustees appointments.
Yes, Mr. Mayor. So we went through the application process for all of our board and commissioners. We received 3 applications for 3 vacancies on the Library Board of Trustees, one of whom was a former trustee. And instead of conducting interviews this late evening, we decided to proceed with this item. And we will be interviewing candidates for Public Art Commission and Transportation on May 13th, just to let you know.
Do we have any public comments?
None.
I'll move to approve the recommendations. Motion and second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Motion approved, 5-0.
Does anybody have anything they'd like to add to a future agenda? I see a couple of microphones moving.
I do.
Okay. Go ahead.
Actually, and the timing is really good. As we were discussing housing with the car light users, I'd like to bring to the future agenda the, oh gosh, microtransit. Just seeing if staff could look into it a little bit more. I know that there is some funding out there, and I'd just like to explore it. It has worked for a lot of other cities, and I know Transnet, Sandag, NCTD, there's some funding for the startup. I want to learn more about it and see if it would be a good fit for the direction that we're trying to go in this city.
I'll second that.
Okay, anything else?
I just want to,
Thank you.
I wanted to request a tour of the splash pad. So I think that would be kind of cool. So I'll just throw it out there. It's not a future agenda item,
Well,
but I figured it's a
we
discussion.
can find out, I will talk to staff, and similar to the library, we'll find out a date and time to offer that to everybody to get on the site during the construction period. All right?
Start down here this time? You want to start us off with our reports?
It's very short. So just, there's a lot going on for Arts, Culture, Creativity Month. I was able to do some, participate in some events, including a sticker stroll in downtown Escondido, which was really fun. So just encourage you to go to visit escondido.com to see all the exciting events happening, including tomorrow there's a play that I'm going to go see. So trying to fit it all in, and I will be at Arbor Day, so save the date, everyone. Arbor Day, we're planting over 100 trees, and we need about 100 volunteers. So I will be there, and I'm sure my colleagues will too. So just wanting, mark your calendar since we won't see you again until next month. That's all I have.
All right. Happy Tax Day. So file those if you haven't. Happy New Year. And as always, thank you to my community.
All right, this past week, I got an update on the battery energy storage guidelines that are going to be coming to the City Council very soon. I went to Sandag. There's no real reportable action out of that. The Escondido Clubhouse, Turn Behavioral Health, had their annual art show that I attended on Friday night, which was fantastic. We had a meeting of the fireworks subcommittee, and we got to see the draft ordinance for regulating fireworks. And I know I mentioned Chick-fil-A last time, but their actual grand opening was the following day. My family and I dressed up like cows and got free Chick-fil-A. And that concludes my report.
All right. So I'll be brief also. I've been meeting with a series of constituents. That's always good to do. Tomorrow I have an NCTD board meeting. And this morning, I had the opportunity to be on the news to showcase our Arts, Culture, and Creativity Month, talking about all the different projects going on, 12 projects that we have funded, and they all have a component that is free for the public, what's coming up, and it was a great experience. So that concludes my report.
Thank you. Last week, I attended the San Diego Air Pollution Control District Governing Board's meeting and talking about the emissions and indirect source rule regarding funding emission problems down there. Tomorrow, Thursday, I'm going to be attending the San Diego North County Economic Development Commission Chairman's Dinner at Safari Park, so that should be really fun. I'll be going with the economic development team and learning more and getting to meet a lot of people, a lot of businesses, other communities that we could partner with in making our economic development stronger here in Escondido. On Friday, I will have the Sandak Public Safety meeting. On Saturday, just a reminder, it's going to be the second annual Indigenous Arts and Culture Festival here at Grape Day Park, and that begins at 10 a.m. Goes from 10 to 4, so I would encourage the families to come out. It is family friendly. And at 3:30, we have the Creek Trail mural unveiling, which is going to be a fantastic. I saw some pictures. Beautiful. I can only imagine how great it looks higher up in the sky. And that's all I have to report.
Before I go to the city manager, I forgot two things. On Saturday, I did issue a proclamation at the first ever San Diego Streaming Festival that was held at the Ritz, issued a proclamation declaring April Arts, Culture, and Creativity Month. And after that, we had the second annual mayoral art contest. We drew in over, I think, close to 150 submissions from all throughout the county, and we handed out awards for first, second, third place, Mayor's Choice, and a handful of honorable mentions, and I'm hoping to get some of that art displayed at City Hall again this year. So thank you. City Manager?
Nothing to report.
All right, no public comments. This meeting is adjourned.